Hey everybody, welcome to Movies We're Talking About, where we talk and talk and talk about movies. I'm John Carlos. I'm joined as always by
As always.
most of the time, I don't know, it just Wayne's World just slipped in there. With me as always is Garth.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll be Garth.
Um, okay. I got
Which
nothing.
Colleen are you?
Mackenzie.
Okay, so I'll be Colette. Yeah, you know what? We'll talk about it, but I will be Colette. Yeah,
I am the dumber one of the two of us.
that's true.
Yeah.
Are you happy you killed John Carlos?
No, but when right off the bat, big fan of this movie.
Hmm.
And I cosplay as Colleen Mackenzie. I'm not wearing it now, but I do have the red, white, and blue, red, white, but never blue shirt that we do see in the
Oh,
flashback when the power goes out.
sure.
And I have the little like necklace. So yeah, so I actually do specifically cosplay as Colleen. I
Yes,
guess
Kevin
yeah.
Kevin Smith knows you as that.
He does. You were there for that.
Yeah, I remember at Hollywood Babylon for
There.
your birthday, right?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
wearing this shirt, and I'd already. Let's talk about me for a second.
Yeah,
So I'd
sure. Let's
already,
do it.
no, I'd already like posted this in my socials. Like there was a convention I went to where conventions have like meetups. So like there's the Marvel meetup, and there's a set of stairs, and all the Marvel characters get on this giant set of stairs. We'll take photos. We're doing a fucking Star Wars meetup. Or
Mhm.
just specifically Spider-Man meetups.
Yeah.
So there's a big empty staircase, and I stood on it, and I'm like, I'm here for the Yoga Hoser meetup, and it was just me. Kevin Smith like responded. He's like, "What the fuck?" Um, so I knew like he'd already seen this. So by the time I was wearing it in person, he's like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, you're the one Yoga Hoser cosplayer."
Yes.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I've worn this at a few other events, and he's like, "Hey," yeah. So it's nice because I'm like the only dude out there, person really that's. I can't.
Yes.
I know I'm not the only one at this point. There are a few others,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
and one little shout out. I was at LA Comic Con, and I was Silent Bob that day,
Yeah.
and I was Colleen the day before, but I bumped into her name's Jamie. She's at Scum and Villainy a lot. She always gets shout out as Jamie Cat Ears because she wears little cat ears. Anyway, she
Oh.
was at the convention and she was dressed like the PE coach.
Oh,
Burgundy
fun.
shorts and the shirt. I'm like, I've never seen like another anything. I've seen some Colleens, but no, who the fuck cosplays the PE coach? I was so
Hmm.
excited. So props to Jamie Cat Ears because that was a fucking rad, callback.
Yeah, I remember I cosplayed at one of your birthdays. Did we already talk about it, I think, on one of the other pods? You had a Kevin Smith themed birthday
Mm-hmm.
at home, and I remember a bunch of us showed up and there were like Jays and Silent Bobs and everything like that. And I wanted to be the walrus from Tusk. So I got some fabric from Joanne's Fabrics and stitched it together to become the Winnipeg Walrus.
Yeah,
And it was fun, yeah. And
it
then
was cute.
you walked in and we all yelled surprise.
Yes,
I had
because
little flippers and everything.
yes, I had a birthday, but I did not plan the birthday. It was a
Right, right,
surprise.
right,
People
right.
people threw me a birthday party.
It
That
was
was Kevin
fun.
Smith. Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And it
Uh,
was nice because I could just take the blanket off after you saw it and got it.
yeah,
And then I was like, okay, now I can just be in my clothes and just chill,
yeah.
which is nice. Most Kevin Smith themed costumes, I would imagine, have that same kind of cash vibe to them, though, right?
I run very warm,
That's
so
no, okay.
when I do
The
Silent
coat.
Bob, I'm in a fucking coat, and I even the black sweater underneath, I've cut the
Hmm.
sleeves off, so it's
Hmm.
just like a front facing kind of. But yeah, that one's
Right.
hot. But like Banky, Brody jackets, yeah, a lot of Randalls is just shirts and t-shirts. Yeah, it's pretty.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Yeah. And at least you're in the same boat with Kevin Smith when he has to don the coat because it's no walk in the park for him either.
No, I
All
would
the running
imagine.
around he has to do.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but I run hot. That's the problem.
I know. So
Maybe
do I.
if you're a chilly person, you're like great layers, but I'm like no.
No,
Ugh.
never.
Yeah,
If I lived in a cold climate, maybe we're in California. It's never cold enough to warrant 3 layers. Like, come on.
depends on who you talk to, but not me.
Not me.
Yeah. So diving right into this flick,
Yeah.
um, I honestly don't remember what to expect,
Yeah.
other than just like the premise just sounded so fucking insane.
Hmm.
But there was I was very fortunate that it was presented in theaters through Fathom Events,
Yeah,
and I think it was like maybe a 2 night thing. But
I
it
think
didn't.
so.
But it didn't get like Regals and Centuries and AMC's and Cinemarks and all them weren't like, hey, here's the official just release of Yoga Hosers. It was like, no, here's the Fathom Events,
Right, right.
and that's where you could see it at Regal and AMC for those specific nights. But I guess maybe it was different for like independent theaters because after I saw it and liked it, the Frida played it. I'm like, fuck yeah! I could just walk into like a theater and just go see it again, like in a normal release. This was great. So,
Yeah.
and I was cosplaying this shortly after the release of the movie. So I normally never do this, but I think I was in it. I think I was the only person in the theater when I saw it at the Frida. But like, I took my phone out and started taking photos of their phone cases because
Oh,
I wanted
yeah.
to have Colleen's pink
Hmm.
Glamthrax phone case, and I made it. I like
Yeah.
painted it and everything. So anyway, I had to snap some photos to get the phone case accurate because my default pose is just on my phone. You know.
Right, right. It makes sense,
Yeah.
100%. I got to see it at the Fathom events as well. I remember it was a bit of a drive, though. It wasn't kind of like at every AMC that was in my vicinity. And I took a friend of mine, Marnie, who had seen like a
Oh.
handful of Kevin Smith movies before, but hadn't seen Tusk. And I think she'd seen maybe less than half, but she's seen the big ones. Like I think she saw Clerks. I think she
Yeah, but
saw Chasing Amy and Dogma, I
what did
think. But
she
yeah,
think?
like
Because this is so silly.
yeah, I know.
Not even Mallrats silly, but like,
She was game like from the
okay.
beginning, and I remember that we got to see because it was Fathom events. They also had like kind of like a preview, not even a preview, but like a thing that preceded the film where it was just like a little bit of a snippet of an interview, just kind of promoting it with Kevin Smith talking. And maybe he was somewhere else and it was just live streaming. I don't remember. I just remember seeing in an interview that he talked to a little girl who saw the movie before, and he asked her like, did it make sense to you? Did you like it? And her only response that I can remember was, I liked it when the girls hit things with sticks. And and so Marnie and I just kind of looked at each other and shrugged, said, we're gonna watch girls hit things with sticks. And I remember I could feel from Marnie like a little bit more, give me more girls hitting things with sticks. Like when we got there, it was like, yeah. But they made it kind of made us feel like that was going to be the whole movie. I was down
Oh, I know.
for, whatever was going to show up, but I'd already also seen Tusk, and I'd been kind of like, oh, okay, like I can see we already talked about that, but with this one, it was a kind of a similar thing where I was just kind of like, wow, we're 20 minutes in and we still have like established no direct plot. Like, and I think it wore on Marnie a little bit more than me because after a while I looked over and she was just kind of like sitting there, just like, like she wasn't unhappy, but she was like, I'm ready to go after it was over. So I was like, okay. And then I bought it on Blu-ray and I watched it again. And I think I've seen it. This might be like my fifth or sixth time seeing it in preparation for the pod because I hadn't seen it in quite a while. So I was really glad to just get it fresh in my mind again because I feel like I have a good grasp on like what the film is, but it was nice to sit through and kind of refresh because it's been a few years and
Yeah.
yeah, it reminded me
I've
of
seen
some.
it many, 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 many times, but I don't think I've watched it in about 2 years, 3 years,
Mm.
which is kind of a while for me.
It's a good
Yeah. Like,
midnight movie. Like it's fun. I knew I
it,
wanted to watch it at night, you know?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's such a weird thing to try to pin down and describe in one sentence. But Midnight Movie is definitely an aspect of it. Like it feels like
Hmm.
a cult movie way more than trying to kind of make a cult movie with Tusk, or at least
Right.
trying to make a movie that feels like the movies that are considered cult, like with that intention. This just feels like such a weird
Yeah.
fucking swing. I know part of the intention was like he wanted to make a movie that like 12-year-old girls would kind of discover the way he used to discover things at a video store or on cable. Like he
Sure.
would hope that they would kind of discover it going through Netflix, going, "What the fuck is this?"
Hmm.
But there is definitely a midnight movie vibe to it. Good lord.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't want to say like it's amazing, but I was sitting in the theater just going like, I'm really getting charmed by all this. Like I'm not. I know I'm not the
Mm.
target demographic,
Yeah.
but
But
demographics, schmamographics. I like what I'm seeing, and I'm going on the ride, and I'm having a good time, and that's all. You know,
At the
I,
sorry,
I,
you can
I
finish your
still. I
sentence.
mean, for lack of, I mean, I know it's PG-13, but like,
Yeah.
you know, in a way, I responded to this the way, like, in my 20s, I responded to Spy Kids, where I'm like, yeah, I know this is for little kids, but like, Robert Rodriguez is really making something fun here, and he's, you
Yeah.
know, and a lot like Spy Kids, it's silly as fuck, and it's
Hmm.
an adult filmmaker kind of trying something kind of different, and it both rely on kind of like goofy effects to
Hmm.
like. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that like, and I'm sure you like when you see animated films, like sure Shrek 4 whatever is made for kids, but like, you know, genre and target, like fucking Paddington 2. That is fucking cinema. That's not a children's film. That's not a family film. That's just a fucking masterpiece.
And I still haven't
You know,
seen it.
one
Yeah,
day
I've
you
got to see
will,
it. I
and you
know.
will. But there's all sorts of movies. You know, I mean, I'll say this in public for everyone. You know, I fuck with the Spy Kids movies. I fuck with High School Musical 3. You know,
Wow, yeah.
and this is a little different, but I fuck with Yoga Hosers quite a bit, obviously.
Obviously. It's interesting you bringing up like being the not being the target demographic, but in a weird way, like that was one thing that I got while I was watching it. I was just kind of like, I feel like my love for Kevin Smith as a movie goer, like just sitting there and experiencing like what he puts on screen, I feel like that's almost like I almost felt like a VIP watching it because I feel like knowing him as well as I feel like I do, even just as a podcaster, like the things that he's shared in his interests in Evening with Kevin Smith and on Babylon and like all that. Um, I just feel like I'm constantly recognizing little things, even like when the Colleens wake up with LaPointe in Ralph Garman's little dungeon or whatever. And they're sitting across from him, all, tied to chairs, like, and that long table's there. And I was just kind of like, oh, Kevin Smith got his Batman table.
Yeah,
Like where Michael Keaton sits at the opposite end of Kim Basinger in Tim Burton's first Batman movie. Little things like that, kind of sprinkled throughout. I'm just kind of like, ha, ha, ha. So being a fan of Kevin Smith's, I feel like really makes me feel
oh,
like I am kind of like a target demographic, maybe not the,
right.
but one of them.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the other thing is, so I feel like I'm not the target demographic, but also in a weird way, I am as well. Because
Right.
this movie is many things,
Yeah.
and yeah, one of the things is well, I'll get to the other thing in a moment, but yeah, I had a similar reaction to other things in that like I know he's a fan of Strange Brew, so he got to
Yeah.
make his like weird Canadian comedy of nonsense. Just like that movie's like a duo, and they end up fighting like
Hmm.
stormtroopers in a hockey rink, like you know these Canadian duos to fight little Nazi bratwurst. Like you know,
Yeah.
it's but also without being a full blown horror movie, there's a lot of horror beats in it. There's a monster at the end. There are some music cues that are really interesting.
Hmm.
But also like his his love for a lot of things. Like I know he went down a big rabbit hole when he learned about Wayne Gretzky, and he was going to make a movie called Hit Somebody. So we've known all the way from Clerks that he like loves hockey. So
Hmm.
um, he's checking off all these little mini boxes of things, like just as a horror fan. He's like, well, now I got to use this music cue and all that. The other thing it is, though, besides being a midnight horror movie of zaniness, is
Hmm.
it's like it's. I think it's telling that the production. It's not a View Askew production. It's a Smodcast Pictures production
Yeah.
because it is a Hollywood Babylon thing come to life. Essentially,
Yeah.
you've got Ralph Garman doing his funny voices,
Hmm.
and I mean, granted that this started, if you could call it the inspiration, as a Smodcast with Mosier, but you've also got specifically Ralph doing a German voice
Hmm.
and Kevin like they're the Germans.
Yes. Exactly. Doing exactly the voices that they do on Hollywood Babylon when they're the Germans.
Exactly. So, and it's well, I think
Wunderbar.
it's so funny that that things happen the way they did. And
Yeah.
this is sad because originally Ralph Garman's filling in for Michael Parks, who died.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like Michael Parks was cast in this part.
Hmm.
Um, so when you make it Ralph Garman and then you rewrite it to have him do voices, the other thing was that Jason Mewes was supposed to be the Bratzies.
Oh, I didn't remember that. Okay.
And I always have the story because if I feel like this is gonna be me if it's ever me. He was getting just the cast of his head done.
Yeah.
And I know some people who can feel very claustrophobic. They put it on him, and after like a minute or two, he like ripped it off. He's like, I can't do it, can't do it. He's like, I can't fucking do it. So they're like, shit, we need someone else to do it. And I guess it was supposed to be Haley Joel Osment. Well, they tried to make it Haley Joel Osment, and ultimately Kevin Smith decided to do it. And I'm like, how do you not just have it be Ralph and Kevin,
Yeah.
especially when they're in the same room with his little like it's the Germans.
Yeah.
So whatever the reason, I'm glad they finally got there.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
and I love Jason Mewes. But I never would have cast him to begin with. I'm like, wait, there's little German little things. We have to have Kevin go, nine,
Yeah, I wonder what that would have been like to, to see Jay Mewes even attempt to do anything other than a Jay voice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's incapable. I mean, maybe it would have been more akin to like, what the fuck happened to that guy? I don't know, that kind of exclamatory.
I take so much joy in. I mean, Kevin's performing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is hamming it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a delight. It's a treasure. There's a lot of Silent Bob going.
Yeah.
But to really see him, chew and use his teeth and then
yeah, right.
It's just. I mean, this is one of the movie's simplest pleasures. I mean, all I need to hear is wonderful, and I'm just just in life sometimes just. Wunderbar.
Yeah. In his tiny little German accent, that is the Germans, and then there's also just like I love just nine cup. The Bratzi expires.
Yeah. Well, and he looks at his other half,
Yeah.
Or when they're pulling one, he's like, nine stretchy. It's the stupidest shit, and I fucking love it.
I also just got like back to like the reveal of like Ralph Garman in there and everything, and you see like a bunch of the Bratzis like in the little box. It just immediately made me think about the Mogwai in the first Gremlins movie, just all screaming to be fed after midnight.
Yeah, and they're all
just a bunch of little things that just like are little hugs to my heart,
And I don't doubt that was the intention, because when they are attacking the A to Z, I feel like for 5 minutes it's Gremlins. When after they've killed the first one, and she gets hit by some food, and it's like on the shelf, like he just threw it. I'm like, oh, it's so fucking Gremlins, and I love it. It's the gremlin in the cupboard with the mom, like it's,
or like just like them fighting like in their work establishment. I'm getting Phoebe Cates in the bar, the only difference is they're not flashing them, and they're not.
Yeah, they're doing. They're
not living long enough to like do little bits and everything like that. But their bits that they are doing, are funny.
If the movie was longer, he has to be like playing poker and dancing, fucking flash dance,
dressed in drag. Yeah,
yeah. But there is a little bit of
same voice.
There is a little bit also of Ash versus the Little Ashes.
Oh yeah, okay.
I get this little.
I get that too.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
And to me, like that little girl's comment, like every time I watch that scene, I do imagine a little girl just being like, "Oh my god, this is great! They're hitting stuff with sticks."
Yeah, that was the only okay. Let's get into it because this is a thing. Watching it this time around, because I remember the first time I didn't know what I was getting. I was just kind of like, okay, these are choices. And I was enjoying myself. And then I just always just kind of like, embraced it every time I'd watch it. Now that it's been a while, I went back and I was like trying to watch it with a critical eye as well to see like, is there anything that I would do differently? Or if he asked my opinion while he was like putting it together, what would I offer? And one of the things that I got was just the it was a big overarching thing because I felt like, okay, obviously we've established a new like Smodcast universe, like, for, up here in Canada between Tusk and this and everything like that. And I just kind of felt a little bit like it reminded me of like conversations you and I have had when we see like other movies where people kind of like, and I'm not saying he did this, but I'm saying it reminded me of like when studios like when cinematic universes were en vogue and when studios were pushing like, okay, we need a cinematic universe because they're making all the money over there at Marvel or Lord of the Rings or what have you. And so immediately like you get like what's intended to be a first installment of something, whether it's the Dark Universe from Universal or yeah,
Sure.
exactly. And they're not even concentrating necessarily on like making the best, product, or not even the best, but just like the most kind of like finely tuned and like, balanced and, you know, let's put the bells and whistles where we need the bells and whistles and let's exercise restraint where where it'll serve us so an audience will want to see more. And I felt like Yoga Hosers on this last viewing was kind of like the most endearing version of that because I didn't feel like I was watching something that was motivated by greed or by dollar signs are trying to like even trying to establish a universe. It's almost like he kind of like stumbled into a universe. And I think I even saw an interview with Kevin Smith at one point saying he can't let a bad idea go. So he made Tusk. He should have learned. He should have walked away, but
He doubled down.
he thought the Colleens were also so good that he was like, I want to make a movie about them. They deserve their own movie. So he made this one. And so it didn't, like I said, it didn't feel hollow or like
No.
motivated by any kind of like money grubbing or anything. It felt more like I want to spend some time with my wife and with my kid. I want her best friend at the time to spend, or her childhood friend to spend time with her parents, and I want us all to kind of make like one great big home movie together. And the filmmakery of it all will be kind of like an afterthought because as I understand he didn't even really direct them all that heavily. He'd have any actor in any given scene run over, watch their playback of the take that they just did and say self-correct, and they'd go up and they would do it. They'd be like, oh, this is what I should do. And he said, I stepped out of the way as a director. It's the first film I've made where I didn't direct. And I think it turned out really well, given
That makes sense
that's
because
what he says. Yeah.
there's a lot of scenes where I go, how do you sit down and write this in advance? This feels like something that the actors found,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. But so what I like about it is, I mean, like, it's kind of like, again, a microcosmic moment for me in the movie, kind of like what the whole thing is about. Is something that was introduced, probably on paper and storyboarded even as like a joke. And it's the two Colleens during the song when they're both brushing their teeth together, looking at each other with big smiles on their faces, and then they just bust out laughing.
Yeah.
Now, within the context of the montage, there's no reason for the laughter because, like, the joke is like we do everything together, but the laugh is the thing that really hooks me in. I get the joke, and I guess it would have been enough, but the thing that makes the flavor of this movie, like the thing that the personal sliver of it, the part that Kevin Smith had to do with shaping or getting out of the way and not shaping is keeping in again that home movie aspect of two people who are actually friends, playing friends, doing everything together, and then just cracking up because oh my God, we're being such idiots and this is fun.
Hmm.
Without that, it might be an unbearable sit, but because I get to watch them legitimately cracking each other up throughout, like
Yes.
that's a key component for me with this movie.
Yes, I would say it charms me,
Yeah.
and that's and yeah, and not a normal kind of way where like, oh, these precocious children are charming, but the whole movie, that flavor. So
Yeah.
much of this shouldn't work, but it casts a spell, and it turns
Hmm.
out, based on the response from when this came out and all these years later, a spell that did not enchant many people.
Yeah.
I am very aware I'm in the minority of people who this worked for.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I agree with you because it definitely was not driven out of greed.
No.
Because you got to know going in that like nobody wants this.
Yeah.
Like you put Chris Hemsworth in a Thor costume, you go, okay, someone's gonna want this.
Sure.
Millions of people will want this. I feel
Hmm.
like with the Yoga Hosers, they're like hundreds, maybe thousands of people might want this. It's not gonna be a big hit.
Yeah.
So yes, it was definitely not driven by greed. Um, and one of the common complaints with a lot of people is like, if you want to hang out with your fucking daughter, if Johnny Depp and his daughter want to hang out, that's great. Why do I have to pay to go fucking see that though? I'm like,
Then
well,
don't pay to go see it then,
but
is what
also
I say.
I don't feel like that's like that's happening in this movie, but that's not the
Mm-hmm.
only thing about this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember I felt that way when The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl came out. And it was like, well, my
Oh.
son used to draw these. So I thought it'd be fun with if my son gets writer credit, we make this movie together. And I'm like,
Right.
that's cute that you want to make this little fucking movie for your son and his drawings, but like this looks like a giant piece of shit. And someone had to spend money to go make this fucking little thing that's just something for you and your kid. And that's how I feel other people felt about Yoga Hosers.
Hmm.
Postscript, I finally, after many, many years, watched The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and
And
it's, I don't want to say it's great, but it's fucking nuts.
oh, good.
And it's so nuts that it's great.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking Salvador Dali mind trip of just ideas thrown at the screen that just
Yeah.
don't make a fucking lick of sense. And that lack of that like child logic,
Yes.
that child logic applied in live action actually
Mm-hmm.
makes like, so I know people who like that movie because they were children when it came out.
Yeah.
I watched it at age 43 and I'm like, this movie is kind of impressive in how fucking insane it is.
Sure.
So anyway, just want to, for anyone who's like, hey, don't talk shit on fucking Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Actually, it's pretty good.
Okay, good to hear. No, I understand. I used to run a theater company, and we would volunteer with a foundation called Young Storytellers, where you go to like grammar schools and work with kids who a lot of them are, kind of volunteered by their teachers if they're having problems in class or, that kind of thing, or just having problems kind of connecting with other kids. And you go as adults and become mentors. They match each adult with a student, and you basically work with them over a few weeks, teaching them about screenwriting, and you work to get the best screenplay you can out of them, and you're their collaborator. You're basically their secretary. And oh my God, some of the scripts we got were so fucking incredible. And anytime we were always told to flag, like this is a good writing exercise actually, because we were told as their secretaries, anytime we start hearing something that sounds like it might be something else, like his name's Barry Cotter, and he loves to study wizardry, and he goes to Schmogwarts, like it's just so, and you're just like, no, that's a great idea, but you know what? How might Barry be different than Harry? What's different about him? Like, just keep giving
Right.
them opportunities for their imaginations to grow and everything like that. And only reason I bring it up is, you know what? As we're talking about it, I'm realizing Yoga Hosers keys into that part of my brain too. Like there are a number of moments where I'm not only kind of going, what? But I'm also going like, yeah! Like when Schwalbach shows up as Mrs. Mackenzie and she's coaching her daughter about lying about her menstrual cycle just for a man, you have to think about the period blood of women. That's one of my favorite lines in the entire movie. I just
Well,
think
and I love the
that's
spit
what the
take
repeats
that
on me.
follows it.
Yes. But just the period blood of women. And I can't and also I love the fact that she gives her the moil, like that she arms her daughter to protect herself
I
because she
love
knows that teenage boys can be shits. And
I
she's
love the
exactly
line.
right.
I
Yeah.
love the line. They get cute, they get cut.
Mm. I'm just like, I don't even have daughters. But if I did, I'd be like, okay, I'm modeling my parenting after Schwalbach and Yoga
Mm-hmm.
Hosers because you want them to be ready. And I had a friend once, her father bought her something when she went away to college because he wanted her to be safe. And it looked like a little wire cat with like, it was a little face and it had little cat ears and it had wires inside that looked like the eyes and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What it really was it was kind of like a makeshift weaponized brass knuckles, but worse, where you could put your fingers, it looked like a mold of like a cat face, but you could put your fingers in like the cat's mouth area, and the cat ears are sharp. And you
Hmm.
put it on your keychain so you can punch someone and do some damage if they try to fuck with you and slow them down while you run away. And again, I would have been that kind of parent. That's I'm luckily just a cat daddy and she's got claws, so she's good. But
But that's fucking dope.
yeah, and it speaks to me just like that's another thing. I'm just sitting there just kind of like, fuck yeah. And then again, like when the moment comes and when it's Austin Butler, right? His
Mm-hmm.
name? Okay. When
Now the biggest star in the movie. Yeah.
I know, right? And what was his character's name? I know Hunter
Hunter something or other.
Calloway.
Yeah.
Calloway. Okay. Hunter Calloway Like we already know like he's up to no good when like he's talking like, yeah, I'm here at the party. Oh my God, I love hearing everybody whatever anybody's take is on a Canadian accent
Yes.
also in this movie is so because it's all over the place. And I love that aspect too. Just hearing each performer's interpretation of what how Canadian am I going to go? And I think the gym teacher is the one who goes
Yeah.
hardest for me.
I was going to say Genesis Rodriguez goes the hardest.
Yes. And I mean almost to the
And
point where she's
I think
yeah.
even in like her little like Insta bio, it mentions like such a heavy accent or something. Like
Oh, cool. Because it's the thing that I love about it is it almost borderline Irish at one point. I didn't write
yeah.
down which line, but it almost
Without
at what
your phones.
yeah, without your phones. It almost sounds like she's Irish. And I'm just like that warrants a slow clap in my book.
I have many favorites. But the gym teacher's one for how hard.
Yes.
One of my others is Natasha Lyonne because
Leo.
Leo.
Or is it Lyon?
I just haven't saying it. No one's ever corrected me. I don't know.
Natasha Leone is how I've always
Then
heard it.
maybe you're right.
Okay.
I don't know. All I know is that is such that is one of the most distinct things about her for her whole career, right?
Uh-huh.
Besides the talent is the regional accent she has.
Yeah.
And just to hear her like still have that rasp,
Yes.
but like kind of go a little Minnesota with it and and then hit the A's but still have that Natasha rasp.
Yeah.
Like we're never
Talking
gonna
about
get
the
there.
beavers, the
I fucking love
beavers.
it.
I do too. I also love that she makes what would have been probably an unlikable character because it's her. I love her so much. Like I
Right.
can't stop watching her. I don't like the character. Like I don't that's not a person who I would ingratiate myself to if I
Sure.
met her in life. But there's something so perfect about the moment where they're going away for the weekend, the parents or
Mhm.
the her dad, Colleen Colette's dad, Mr. Colette, and his bit on the side, Natasha Leone. What's her character?
Yeah.
Tabitha, and while he's getting the car ready and like we're going out for our trip and everything, and they're just like, no, Dad, you can't leave us and everything like that, and she's walking out, and again, you're talking about music cues, this sweeping. I don't, what is it Ferris Bueller-esque? Maybe not even like almost Pee-wee's Big Adventure, kind of like almost circus music playing as you see Natasha Lyonne leaving the house in like her magenta animal print, tight as
Hmm.
fuck, cleavage for days, dress and her little platforms, and she just looks so cheap. That's just the attitude. But the attitude, if I were the kid, I'd be like, fuck you. But the moment it's chef's kiss. I know exactly what you're going for, and you
Hmm.
nailed it. I know who the villain is. I know who I'm rooting for. And the fact that then we have to watch the Colleens, who have already successfully sung this song, serenaded them to keep them from
Yeah.
fucking the night, was it the night before or
Yeah.
whatever? But nights before, maybe. I don't know. But
That's
before.
that. Yeah.
Okay, night before. And now they're trying to do it, but the magic is gone. And they're just there at the window singing a
It's
cappella
such
and
a sad
screaming.
little
It's
attempt.
such a sad, and he's just, nope. Then he just backs up because it's not going to work this time. Because Daddy needs to get his rocks off.
Right.
But
I mean, that's he's very enthusiastic about Niagara Falls, but it feels like
yes,
the enthusiasm is the Niagara Falls he's going to make come out of him.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of men want to get their rocks off in this movie. Well, I guess in different ways. Because I guess the teenage boys, well, one of them does, like Gordon
Well,
Greenleaf.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
but I want to bring it back to what you were saying about Austin Butler. Yes, there's a
Yeah.
very mannered. Also there's a lot of different Canadian accents I like, but I really like the way he's so mannered. Oh, the Colleen
Yeah.
Coalition. I'd like to
Yeah.
invite you to my party. Like
Goosebumps. Like I just and it must be pure. And I can't even replicate it. It's so watchable though. Like and
yeah.
good for him. I hope he just makes a career out of just like talking like he don't talk. I don't even know what he actually sounds like because I never saw him in anything before this movie. I knew he was like a teen heartthrob or whatever, but I don't even know what for.
Yeah, and then
So
for a good couple of years after Elvis, I didn't know what he sounded like.
Right, right.
So,
And I just saw Elvis like this past year, and I was just kind of like, wow, he nailed it. Good for him. I have feelings about the movie, but thought he did a really, really
good
good
performance,
job. And
yeah.
now, yeah, now whenever he shows up, I just hope he has another voice or another accent, or he'll be like the next Meryl Streep. I'd love to see
Oh,
it.
I was about to say he'll be the next shit, I just forgot his name, but fucking Tom Hardy.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Tom Hardy
oh.
loves to really go for it, you
The
know.
three of them. Okay, I want
Oh
Meryl Streep,
yes.
Tom Hardy, and Austin Butler in a movie together that is really
Voices.
five movies where they are each playing five different characters from
No.
five different regions of the
Yeah,
world.
I was about to say it needs to be like Split, or James McAvoy gets to be like the three of them all have split personality disorders, so they all
M.
get to
Night,
play.
get on it.
Yes.
We won it yesterday.
Splits.
And bring back Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
She could be the one stuck listening to all these voices.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. It'd be finally like the Avengers movie that we've been waiting for M. Night to make.
Yeah, you find out that James McAvoy, Meryl Streep was his mom, and Tom Hardy was his brother. Like, it's a genetic family thing, and they're all it's his family.
Bloodlines, because that's not problematic at all.
No. I mean, Eddie, if I was really serious about this movie, yes, come
Right.
cancel me and say, hey, that's not very. It's all fake.
But I agree with you as far as Austin Butler, like a big old treat. Like, and again, like a completely despicable character, but I enjoy watching him play it. And then at the same time, I love that he gets the comeuppance I want him to get, because he gets the threat, but also Colleen Mackenzie is spared like the trauma of having to kill the first bit, the first guy she wanted to really kind of, go to the next base with.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I was gonna let you go to second, but but I kind of like the fact that he's shall we just say violated in the rear by a Bratzi, and that's the way he expires.
Well, also,
I'll take it.
I like that we get the payoff with the knife.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
it's not just a funny beat. She defends her way out of it.
Yeah, and also like, if people wanted to get like from a logistical standpoint, well, his knife is bigger or something like that. All I can say is like, yeah, but she's got the one already to his privates. Like
he's holding it up. The second he lunges, she just goes up.
Yep, she's right up against his junk, and if he flinches, she flinches, and that'll be it for Johnny. And he's got enough self-preservation to know, okay, I'd better fucking watch myself. The only thing I don't like is that he puts the knife away, and then so she puts her knife away. I'm like, no, keep it.
Yeah,
just get him.
I agree.
But yeah,
and not to read too into it.
Yeah,
but I do appreciate that she defends herself with the knife and de-escalates the situation on her own, and not in a weird way, like the Bratzi saves her.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bratzi is something that happens after she already succeeds in defending herself.
100%.
Coincidentally, also at the end of the movie, they're about to try to free, Guy Lapointe. And it's like, no, we don't fucking need this dude. Like, we can handle this, right? We're the female stars of this movie. We can fight. Like, we don't need a guy to come fucking help. So I like that there's more than one instance in this movie of the girl going like, I got this. I don't need the Bratzi or the Johnny Depp to save me.
We're yoga hosers. We got this. Doesn't Natasha Lyonne say yoga hosers like 4 times in the movie?
At least 3 that I counted.
Yeah.
And I'd like to talk about that for a minute.
Please do.
Well, I find it funny that, like, because there is a disconnect, and I'm not complaining, but there is the original podcast was about like a story about how the Canadian police raided a yogi who apparently had stolen some art.
Sure.
But the fact that he was like a yoga, they're like, get out of here, you goddamn yoga hoser, you fucking, and then they would just kind of keep riffing on like, oh, fucking yoga hosers, goddamn you. But it came from a very like, you fucking hoser who is a yogi. And they kind of ran with it. And they even I remember they made like some shirts that just said, it had like a maple leaf and it said like, oh yeah, yoga hosers or whatever.
Right.
In this, so if you were just a fan of the podcast, before he says, I'm casting my daughters in it, before he says, and they fight Bratzis.
Right.
You hear the word yoga hosers, you're like, oh, so like you would not think oh, it's about teenage girls that work at a store and fight Bratzies. Like,
Sure.
and there's nothing about them that's like, Hosers is basically like an idiot. At least the way I
Mm,
grew up with everything I learned about Hoser, I learned from Bob and Doug McKenzie. Just like, tick off, you hoser, eh? You're a hoser, eh?
right.
Yeah, hoser.
Yes.
So
100%.
these are not two bumbling morons.
Right.
It almost feels like you have a movie about these two yoga enthusiasts, and it's silly, but you're really married to the name Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
But and I'm fine with the movie being called Yoga Hosers, but what I do find a little is that I love the comedy beat of anyone going, God damn Yoga Hosers. But like there's so many times where it's said where I go, why is it being said? I understand the beat, but like for example, Stan Lee,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
call the police
Yeah.
and he just goes, God damn Yoga Hosers. Like, how do you know they do yoga? How do you know?
He's got a second sight.
Well, my only guess, and if I'm doing my own work in headcanon, is they do mention the A to Z, and he's like, oh, it's probably those two girls that work at the A to Z. I see them
Probably.
at the strip mall doing yoga all the time. Like,
Right.
I don't know, but
I'll take it.
But I
Sure.
really like it when Tabs says it because she knows
Yeah.
they're fucking yoga enthusiasts and they're cock blocking her. So I love when she just turns around the corner and goes, God damn the yoga hosers.
Well, because that's another thing. Like one of the things that because I started to say like if Kevin Smith were to ask my opinion about something, one of the things that I remember it didn't even really click for me in my initial viewing. I was just kind of like, okay, this is a choice. Why? Which was just kind of like the video game aspect of like when we introduced like the characters who comprise, like the Colleen's Day, like predominantly like the
Yes.
authority figures, but also like the people who are like their contemporaries, like frickin' Ichabod and whatnot. We get like little
Ichabod, Principal, Invincible. Yeah.
yeah, and they all sweep in and they all get introduced and everything like that. But as I was watching last night, I was wondering how many of these people come back? And how many of these people, not just on top of that, like come back like for something substantial or they actually like do something or serve the plot that, doesn't really exist in this movie. I mean, it doesn't exist beyond, I'd say, arguably maybe like four people. Um, which are like, Garmin, LaPointe, and the two Colleens. Like they're the
Yeah.
ones who really kind of like push forth, like have anything to do with like we learn about who they are at a certain point, and then we kind of like follow them or come back to them at the end in a way that actually kind of like comes to fruition, or at least conflict, and then gets resolved. So we get all these people, and I understand it's like, it's like cameos galore, that's fun. But one thing that I would have advised or even just kind of like craved a little and would have expressed to Kevin Smith if he would have asked me before he started shooting is just being like, so you're going to cast like, a bunch of like really, really awesome people like in these roles and everything like that. Um, well, do you want to lean in harder to like the slasher aspect? Because it seems like you're kind of setting some things up like that. And if you're just gonna like introduce people in like a slasher movie just to kind of have them killed, maybe introduce them for the reason that we're meeting up with the victims before the Colleens can step in and actually stop the massacre. So it kind of ties those characters into the action of your
Mm.
movie. Or if you don't want it to be a slasher and you want it to be more about like, teenage girls, you want 12-year-old girls to watch this and go like, fuck yeah. What if the Colleens like learn earlier on, a little earlier about like Bratzies and all of that kind of stuff? Get a little less exposition with all your tracking shots. All of your there are so many times where the camera's just kind of like drifting from left to right from one end of the room to the other while they're like learning about something where I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm just watching people talk at this point, and I'm finding it hard to concentrate. And the
I
movie,
feel that at times, but I'm also
yeah.
like, it's a Kevin Smith movie. This is what he fucking does. But fucking, it's why we're here.
He's like, look, I'm moving the camera. I'm like, well, just keep it stationary then,
Yeah. Much like
because
how Tusk goes in this giant unnecessary flashback
sure,
with Johnny Depp and Michael Parks.
yeah,
There's a version of this movie where I can see I still think you need the explanation, but tightening up the
yeah.
whole classroom scene where we learn about
Mhm.
Canada in the 30s and Alistair Arcane and and then Germany and fucking the Canadian, all of that. Like I could see there's a version of
Yeah.
that gets tightened up. but I have no problem
Mhm.
with it. But I am aware that it's going on.
Right.
There's a
Um,
few other times where, and it's like like now that you're saying, because there's certain things about this movie I haven't really dived into story wise, production wise.
sure.
So like the idea that they would kind of he would let them kind of go a bit, the
Yeah.
actors. I'm like, oh, I
Mhm.
can tell. There are times where Guy Lapointe is sitting across from the Colleen's, where I'm like, it feels like an actor, not improving, but when they kind of spice it up a bit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it mostly is worth keeping and putting in the movie. But there are a few times where I'm like, look, let's get there.
This isn't about anything.
Yeah, like well, if you look at the yes, if you look at the amount of minutes that library scene is
Mhm.
versus the amount of information that's given to the viewer, we didn't need to spend that much
Mhm.
time doing it.
Or the classroom. That's another one. That feels
Yes.
scripted, like everything that's going
However,
on.
a
Yeah.
lot of what's being thrown into the soup is still fun.
Hmm.
But to get to the point of the scene when he's like, one critic said this, and I showed that review to my mother. Another critic said the book was like it was someone had made a book of poop. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, this is clearly something that Johnny Depp kind of came up with, and
Yeah.
but like we didn't need any of that.
A book bag full of poo. I mean, I do laugh at that line when
Yeah.
Justin Long says that.
Oh, people talking about poo. It happens more than once in this movie, and
And it
I
happens
laugh every time.
later with the Yogi Berra thing when he's just kind of like, "How can you own a cartoon? It's a thing that doesn't exist." And I'm just kind of like, "Look at this little bit. Look
Yeah,
at this cute." And then he changes it to Boo Boo. Is it Boo Boo Berra? Hey,
yeah.
Boo Boo. He's like, "Okay, you can't get me for the same thing twice. How is there a cart? How?" How does this keep happening to me, basically? And again, it's funny, but again, I wouldn't even mind that if like their presence in the movie was just kind of like, okay, but let's just tie you into the action. Like let's put these people that we're introducing that the Colleens seem to care about, or at least seem to be like giving their focus to. Let's put them all in peril. And if we don't want to kill them off, if we don't want to make like
Well,
that slasher kind of movie, we can make like the girl power movie where like the Colleens like defend themselves, hit things with sticks really early in the movie, learn what's going on, and then just kind of like follow the trail of the Bratzies who are attacking these people they care about. So we can see these people be introduced and then have them be saved because we've already been introduced to them and we
yeah.
care about them, like I don't want anything to happen to Principal Invincible. I
What
love
what
Sashir Zameda, so
what you're describing is a bigger movie, and I don't mean bigger like in
mm,
scale like Michael Bay, but
right.
one of the things that I am because it's funny in my head, I always imagine this movie of being a smaller production, and because of the third act,
Hmm.
I always kind of recall it as being like limited and not in a bad way.
Mm.
And every time I watch this, I always forget for about the first hour, like how well shot it is, how they use locations, they use
Mm.
sets. I'm always impressed. This is gonna sound stupid to some people, but like I'm always impressed that like the PE scene has all those extras. I'm like, oh, this isn't like just like two or three people in a room. Like you actually did go to locations. You filled. I hate like I love Batman Returns, but I hate how unpopulated Gotham is.
Uh-huh.
I would have hated if there was only like 5 students in that gym,
Sure.
but there's a whole other half that's just in the background of the boys doing their stuff. And
Hmm.
that's like 30 other boys that all got paid for the day to fucking be there. So like it also looks pretty good as
Hmm.
far as like I always remember like Tusk having such nice like shadows and the warmth, everything for that first half, and
Hmm.
Yoga Hosers being silly, but it is a crisp, good looking movie. I don't mean this in a bad way, but once we get to like the third act, it does get locked into like this one location with these 4 actors.
Hmm.
Um, and I get what you're saying about wanting. There was a version of this movie where after the monologue, the goalie golem gets out,
Hmm.
starts going through the town,
Hmm.
and then they go out and they say it's gonna go attack, Invincible Principal, whatever the fuck, and then they stop him. And a fight ensues in a park,
Right,
or in a
right.
hockey rink. It knocks down the wall. But that's one of the things that I know as a producer, and I'm a dummy. So someone, I think, isn't it the line producer? This is the sort of thing where they go through a script and they go like, well, how can we take this scene that's going to cost this much and find a way to make the
Mm.
scene cost this much? Well, if we take it out from a park and put it inside a room, or if we don't change locations and now these 3 scenes all take place here, we can
Hmm.
now. And I don't know if that's something that was done to the script or if Kevin Smith writes it because he's also a producer and he thinks that way. But
Yeah,
it really is a very self-contained little third act where the threat is described. It's going to go and kill these critics, but it
sure.
never, like, they stop it before it can happen. But yes, there
Yeah.
is like a bigger movie where our third act gets just
Mm-hmm.
costs more because we leave.
Mm-hmm.
And
And shoot overnight, like to get like night scenes and like on a quad or on a
right.
something
But
like
as it
where
stands, we we
yeah,
we kind of just have the Colleen stop the threat at the end, and then all those kind of other players for the day just kind of have
yeah.
their one scene.
But I mean, like Ichabod could get like cornered in like the back room, so you've still already got that set. Just use it one more night. You could get Yogi Bayer like in his little yoga studio because you've got that, and we already have
Mhm.
what is it like 3 or 4 scenes like in the movie in there already. So like, there's a way around it. Like, I mean. But I mean, so I mean, it just if there was something that I'd like to see that I think could work to make the movie chug along a little bit more. Like that's something that I was for the first time it entered my mind. I'm like, oh, they could have leaned into the slasher more, or could have leaned into like the avenging yoga hosers a little bit more, just to get these characters not like here we are, learn a bunch of stuff about us, and then we disappear. It's not. I mean, because one thing that that it did remind me of when I saw like the little introductions, I was like, oh, Suicide Squad. Oh, you know. And I mean
I
David
mean,
Ayer's Suicide Squad, where we get like, like, oh, let's introduce like all these characters and then barely get to know them any better because it's a Harley Quinn and Joker movie, really, like everyone else, like, you'll get like a little sliver or something, and then they'll decide they're friends, and then the movie will be over.
I mean, cinema has a long history of movies where, and I mean cinema, like there are very great movies where we put it just like the title card, introduce the character's name,
Sure.
and even like I remember I thought it was a nice callback. Like they didn't need to do this, but The Faculty, we meet each of those kids with their own little
Mm,
like splash card for their name.
sure.
Um, so yeah, I mean, but yeah, usually that's for main characters, not all these little side supporting characters. I don't know. I just get excited every time I hear like the little 16-bit "Oh Canada" come up for a few seconds.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, if any, my weird thing about it is it says like I think Instacam,
Hmm.
so it's a photo
Yeah.
for what I presume is an app like Instagram,
Mm, mm.
but it's got like a chat window like it's a cam, but then it also has like hashtags, but then also has like a 16-bit. It's a bunch of nonsense, is what it is.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know, but like you said, that's a choice. But there's a lot of little things in this that to me, there's a lot of like that to me counts as like silliness, and there's
Hmm.
a lot of silliness. Even just the opening credits,
Hmm.
all the text is highlighted by like a little pancake with maple syrup or little ice skates, little
Hmm.
fucking hockey jerseys or maple leaves. Like it's all
Yeah.
there's all sorts of goofiness. Uh, I think one of my favorite. That's a choice. Is the fight at the end with the goalie golem? We get the Batman Biff Bang Pows, but they're all like
Yes.
silly Canadian nonsense. But again, this is the kind of silliness, and even
Yeah.
in universe, it's I I think it's a cute little choice, and the movie could have done even more of these. But when they're singing the song, and the dad's hearing it, there's that one shot of the wall, and
Mhm.
all
Oh,
the
with the
pictures are moving
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because of the sound of. I'm like, that's yeah, okay. This is the kind of movie. It's like a Muppet kind of movie. Like it's just
Right. Very cartoony.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, well, also, I mean, you brought up like the climax, and I just think about like I remember I saw that, and even the first time I saw it, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, because in this world we have to have like another stitchy, fleshy monster garb that like that needs to be
Yeah.
combated or needs to have something to do with like the climactic battle. We're rooting for that creature in Tusk, kind of, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
in this one, it's like we're rooting against it. That was another thing though, like that actually looking at it, I think it's lit differently. It's not like it was like appetizing. Like I don't watch Tusk and see the walrus and go, baloney, I'm in the mood. But I do, but I do definitely when I see the what do you call it? What did you call it? The
The
thing?
goalie golem.
The goalie golem. When you have that thing. that they're like fighting and everything like that. There's something about the lighting. I love that you brought up like the Batman like biff bang pow, but it's more kind of like oi or whatever. I don't know. Like, oh no, it may as well be. But they're fighting, and the little things are appearing like in Batman, and it's also kind of like for me lit. It's like almost like the room is too well lit for that thing because it's not like dark enough for it to be scary, but it's also well lit enough that I can see it, and it's kind of grosses me out. Like I
Oh,
think I had popcorn with me the first time I saw it, and I had to stop eating because it just looked.
wow.
I don't like the stitchiness, and I was just kind of like, oh, did he have to look like the walrus from Tusk? I don't need that right
Yeah.
now.
Well, it's the same. It's the same like makeup effects team. So like the
Sure,
designer.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
And it
think it
made
was Kurtzman.
sense. Yeah, and it made sense. Like in universe, like I get it. Like, okay, I see kind of like a throwback. I see the connective tissue as, like literally.
Yes. That's
But
actually one of the things I appreciate about it. Is I'm like,
oh
oh,
really?
see, because like in Tusk, it didn't totally work for me, right?
Oh, okay.
But in the tone of this movie, that kind of level of fakery like
Uh-huh.
works better too. There's a lot about like I think Guy Lapointe as a character,
Oh God.
as a cartoonish man,
Yes.
sits in this world better. And I think the photo quality, the way that skin suit reads in Tusk, I think a skin suit reads for the
Mm.
nature of this movie more as
Okay.
it's more forgiving to me that it doesn't look. First of all, in both movies, I don't think we want it to look too real. That would,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, and yes,
I
the
I would have
silliness of the
liked.
mole. Yeah.
I would have. Yeah, exactly. But no, I could have just as well like done with like a giant Bratzi. Like they all join together and kind of morph and just kind of like congeal to become like a giant Bratzi. I think I would have
Oh.
preferred
Oh,
that.
really? No, I see.
Yeah.
One of the things there's two. Well, one, I like that it's so hockey themed,
Uh-huh.
um,
Yeah.
and then also I like that over the course of this movie, like it's not just one thing, right? Like first of all, we encounter Satanists, but then we
Hmm.
encounter Bratzis, and then we encounter this monologuing guy, which then leads
Oh, I
us
see.
to like boom, like there's four
Okay.
different kind of threats in this movie. So I like that we get
Okay.
something different.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but that
I
we
did.
still because there's Bratzis in them, we still get to hear wunderbar,
Yes.
wunder, like we still get the joy of that.
Also, in an odd way, like I think I remember, didn't I mean, because everything that he based the Bratzis on, like I mean, the origins of them, like in terms of like people in Winnipeg and everything like that, that all really happened, right? Or am I just, or did Kevin Smith, is that all just like
The Bratzis?
not the Bratzis, but like like the guy who like was like standing on a corner trying to like recruit Nazis like
Oh,
somewhere in
like a
Canada.
Canadian Nazis?
Yeah, like
I
that kind of thing.
do
Didn't
not
that
know.
Okay, I don't remember. I can't remember if it was real or if it's just like an invention. Like, well, we need Nazis in Canada somehow, so I'll invent this fairy
I
tale.
always
Or if it's
presumed it
actually
was an invention, but it wouldn't surprise
okay,
me. There's a lot of like, there's a fuck, history nerds can
okay,
can can let me know, but I know that there's a somewhere like north of LA, right? There's like a cabin, there's like a property
yes,
that was supposed to be safe, like not safe haven, but like when presumably Hitler was going to come to the U.S.
right,
Nazis
right. I've
had
heard
a
about
place for
that.
him, and yeah,
Yeah,
so it wouldn't surprise me if there's a fact that's like, oh, there was like I don't know 5 Nazis in Canada, and they did have to do a thing, and
sure.
that might be a little tiny piece of Canadian history, but I always presume it was made up.
Right,
But it
right.
would not surprise if it was true. Just like it turns out, there was an American Nazi base in California,
Of course, of
like
course.
a
Well, like just in case. I remember that the
yes,
one that you're alluding to, like was built like just in case he comes
if
over and
yes,
in
if
case
we're
he
ready
wins. Like
for it.
we want it to look like, oh, well, here's. And I think because Tom Hanks even talked about it. I think on Conan
Yes,
O'Brien's podcast, and
that's
I
where I
thought there
learned
was like
about it.
there was like a U.S. flag and then there was like a Nazi flag, and they
Yeah,
were like right, and it was like welcome, and it's like oh God. And the space is something else now, like something
yeah,
for like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to. I don't know, hold
yeah.
functions or something. So, okay. But with this one, whether I mean whatever it is, there's something about like you mentioned the flashback that we already talked about in the Tusk episode, and about our kind of like about it. But with this, there's something about like the flashback to Haley Joel just standing on a corner, like screaming at two people, and then later just seeing like Ralph Garman being all devious and shot from below, like with the sky, the vastness of the sky behind
Uh-huh.
him, and black and white and everything like that. It just has me like smiling. I am grinning from ear to ear watching two performers whom I love dearly and love watching them work, particularly in Kevin Smith's vehicles. And I just love that they're sitting there screaming at the top of their lungs as Nazis or laughing at the expense of other people to a cartoonish level. Like I feel like I'm
Hmm.
watching like anytime a Nazi was depicted in the old 1970s Wonder Woman series. You know, they were always like they weren't just Nazis. They were also very cartoonish, very I mean, there was a time, you know, where the best revenge was to make fun of them. You know, Mel Brooks taught us that with the
Yeah, yeah.
producers, and I still, you know, love the idea of like, oh, what a bygone thing. Like, let's make fun of it at a cartoonish level. Like, there's a pocket of me that actually still kind of like finds comfort in that, rather than
Hmm.
dealing with like the actual like present day existence of like people who actually kind of like believe in those. Uh, I can't even call them values, but you know what I mean. People who are emotionally and spiritually and psychologically bankrupt enough to actually buy into that shit today. It's like, fuck you. But watching it depicted like it's in a comic book panel, and watching it enacted by, you know, performers I admire, that I'll take that any day. So
Making it feel as
yeah.
silly and stupid as it should be considered as fucking stupid. Yes.
Yeah, the fact that
Yeah.
Haley Joel gets to yell at them, "Why are you not applauding?" I laughed out loud so hard when he did that because I'm like, I like my Nazis cartoonish and angry and shrieking. That's what I
Yes.
like.
In media, I love when they're
In
yelling like it.
media,
Yes.
yes. Non-realistic terms. That's how that's the only way I want to see them really is
Yeah.
in non-realism, like not non-reality. Let's just
And
put
in
keep them on
media,
screen.
much like with Indiana Jones, I like watching them be punched and defeated. And
There you go.
even though they're just little bratwursts,
Yeah.
they are little Nazis.
Yeah.
They're little Nazis with Hitler mustaches, and I love seeing them get demolished.
Hmm.
It's comforting.
And also, I mean, you know what? I didn't think about this before, but just like heard Mel Brooks once when he was describing the producer's musical and they were putting on a Broadway, they were recording the cast album. He was talking about Brad Oscar playing the Nazi in, you know, the Nazi who writes Springtime for Hitler in the
Mm.
producers, and he was going to record his song, the Guten Tag Hauptklapp. And he was saying, like, what's wonderful about Broad Oscar is he brings something that we've been starved for with our Nazis, and it's a little sweetness. And it's true. And anybody who's played that role has brought like a weird sliver of like vulnerability. I'll say maybe not sweetness,
Hmm.
but certainly vulnerability. So one of the things that I really appreciate with Ralph Garman's interpretation of this character is like but I want to be more palatable to you. So perhaps it will feel better if I put on this voice and start, oh, Adrian, and you know, like just doing one impression after the other, all in the name of trying to seem more accessible, trying to, and again, there's a nefarious undercurrent there because he's trying to recruit people and get them on his side or whatever to communicate exactly like what it is that what he's doing effectively. But I mean, there's also like there is a vulnerability about it. He's almost like a host, you know. It's almost like he doesn't want he doesn't want to turn them off. So he just
Right.
wants to be inviting and warm and as agreeable
Right.
as possible.
Well,
And
and when
again, it works.
and that works because not only because what the ultimate end of the monologue is like, oh, you're not in any danger.
Yeah.
Uncuffs. I'm like, I need you.
Yeah.
I invited you. I brought you here to help me.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know.
Now, where are
Um,
your phones?
yeah. Yeah, and also technically, he's not a Nazi. He aligned
Right.
himself with Alec, but then also when all that went to
Sure.
shit. And I love that because there's between the there's things I like about both Colleens, but Colleen McKenzie being the dumber one,
Yeah.
or even when they're both perfectly in sync. But anyway, he's talking about his sadness as an artist, and then spent time with the Nazis,
Hmm.
and following Hitler, and they both go, "Oh."
Yeah,
And I
I
love
know.
that, like just almost out of a routine, the way they sympathize. And then Johnny Depp's like, "Hey, this isn't like cute dogs on the internet."
Yeah,
Like, and I'm like, "Yes."
right.
At no point are you supposed to go, "Aw," to a guy following Hitler. Like that is this is why you guys are kind of dumb.
Uh, and again, like in an endearing way. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't want them waiting on me as the clerks when I walked into the A to Z.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, Okay, we haven't really even given like the Colleens like I think the space as
We
far as
haven't.
like the nature of like their behavior and the way they function in the world because there were so many moments where I was just kind of like I could have if they were handled in any other by another director in any other kind of way. I could have really easily just kind of like oh God because I mean a lot of they're 15 in this, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't
it's
know about in
like
real life, but other characters are. Yeah.
yeah, the characters are supposed to be 15. And when I usually get around like more than one 15-year-old at a time, I tend to like, I will cross the street to avoid, or I'll just like avert my eyes and try not to eavesdrop and not even overhear like any kind of thing because I'm just, kind of I'm a cantankerous old man at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, so having to like kind of be subjected, it feels like being subjected to something if I have to like if I'm at Target or in an elevator or whatever, and I have to like hear, oh my God, or whatever, anything that involves a vocal fry or a whatever, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, get me out of here. Just exhale and just leave. The doors will open to the elevator and you'll be free soon. That said, I'm watching these two 15-year-old girls who, are giving next to nothing like, at their clerk job because that's the way Kevin Smith writes clerks.
Mhm.
And but at the same time, like I love the fact that like when they get flipped off by the little kid, they're both
Oh,
yeah, they're not like
yeah.
that little shit. They don't get annoyed. They're actually like fascinated and like, oh my God, that kid's the greatest. Like,
Yes,
that's
I'm glad you brought
amazing.
that up. I'm glad we're talking about this because that's one
Yeah.
of it's there's I'm not going to call them like a classic comedy duo, but over the decades, the 80s and 90s, and there's always going to be like a Harold and Kumar or fucking like a Bill and Ted, Romy and Michelle,
Yep.
even like I don't remember their fucking names, but there's that movie Fired Up. But
Oh, I haven't even seen it.
the two guys who join the cheerleading team, like there's going to be
Okay.
like two people in a comedy, and silliness ensues.
Yeah.
But I like that they aren't just some trope we've seen a million times. Like I really did
No.
get a sense that like this is kind of not like it's supposed to represent all kids, mind you, but this is kind of how these kids in this era
Hmm.
like I've also every once in a while like I had someone like kind of offend me or accuse me, or insult me, and I'm kind of like
Wow.
fucking
Yeah.
a,
Yeah,
holy
right.
shit, you know.
You're gonna have very little trouble in the world if you can
Yeah.
like bring that kind of bravado and
But the fact that
gravitas.
yeah, it's almost like in Goodfellas when, hey,
Mm.
why don't you go fuck yourself? And they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
oh, oh, oh,
Right.
hey, it gives a, hey, this is
Yeah.
for you. Don't take no shit. Hey, fucking, fucking spider. But these are bigger circumstances. This is just like such a ground. Like I like that that's their approach to things. And there's a lot of things that bounce off them, and there's a lot of weird little thing like it's very generational. I feel the disconnect from me,
Hmm.
but I like it because it's something that feels fresh in movies. And I know some people watch this and they're like it's nepotism, it's these, but I'm just watching these two people's daughters in a movie, and I feel bad that was people's experience because I got these
Yeah.
very I like how engaged they are with their phones,
Yes.
and the things that unite them, the things that that unfaze them. Like
Yeah.
I really do
100%.
enjoy these two uniquely fleshed out characters.
Yeah, you're also making me realize I had my own "aw" moment where probably shouldn't. Like kind of like them with the Nazi thing. I'm like, "Aw," and it's not puppies on the internet, but I mean, it's when I think it's at the end of their musical number when they're singing with the accompaniment and everything like that, and they're brushing the teeth and everything. And at the very end, they're both just napping with like blankets over them, and they're both
Uh,
clutching their phones. And I do go. I wouldn't do this in real life. I'd be like, oh Jesus Christ, you can't let go of your phone for 1 minute. But I watch the two of them and I'm like, oh, they can't let go of their phones because it's their generation. But also, you reminded me of like a real life example of that kid like flipping them off and them going like, oh, the most recent example I can think of. Did you see the reel? It went viral of like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo posing with a little girl who wanted to take a selfie with them. But I guess she took a selfie with maybe Ariana first, and then she was going to take one with Cynthia. She had glasses on, so she took her glasses off and like handed them to Ariana, and Ariana just kind of held them. Like, okay, I'll hold your glasses because
I
they're
did
sitting in
not
two
watch
director
this.
chairs. Oh, okay. So
Okay.
they're sitting in like two director chairs, and the girl's like sitting there like doing her selfie, and she took off her glasses and handed them to Ariana, just and then just reached over, took her glasses back without even making eye contact with Ariana Grande, and just walked away. And Ariana was like, there was no thank you, there was no acknowledgement, and she just went, just leaned forward and went, "Oh my God, this girl is she has got some nerve, and I'm here for it." Because in her mind, this little girl is a star, and I wouldn't want to do anything to douse that. No, I just it just made me think about that. So
All
it's
right.
worth watching. It's fun.
Oh,
If I
I
find it,
will.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. It saves me from having to seek it out.
Okay. But
Uh,
in a yeah, you were gonna say something. Go ahead.
no, there's just so much about them that's just so atypical from
Hmm.
your average comedy, your average duo. Such
Yeah.
random little beats that they do, but then also very traditional beats. And I
Hmm.
love like one of my favorite exchanges in the movie is when they're getting ready for the what they think is just Hunter, but or the party. But anyway, she's like, "So where should I kiss Hunter?" She's like, "Ew, on the lips
Yeah.
only." No, like where in the store?
And then, like within seconds, she's like, "Oh, you're such a good friend. I know, right?"
Oh. But I
And
like
also
the
the
ew.
yeah, yeah, me too. And I also just like the fact that like one of them gets to be boy crazy because that makes sense. And also, it's
Mhm.
not even boy crazy; it's crazy about this one boy. Like she's obviously got a crush, and because Kevin Smith cast a teen idol in that role, like I'm sure like any 12-year-old girl who was watching the movie at the time or since is probably going like, I get it. And
Yeah, I think Harley. I don't want to say like had approval, but had some input when it came to like
good.
who are we like I think the girls were like he is a very attractive boy actor and things, you know.
Who's also super good and who's also
It,
like, yeah, he
it
would
it's
make it
not
work.
quite Wes Craven's daughter pointing at Johnny
No,
Depp going him, but like
right.
there was, feedback.
It's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But I also just love the fact that like uh Tyler Posey, I've never seen like one scene from Teen Wolf, but he was in one episode of Smallville, pre-Teen Wolf, and I remember thinking like, oh, that kid, it's a kid. He's going to be very attractive once he's legal. And then Teen Wolf came, and I was just kind of like, oh, see, I was right. He's very attractive, and I like seeing. This was, I think, this might have been the first thing I ever saw him do.
It was for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing him just kind of like, oh, you know how to go and go hard. Like, because there was something, again, really unsavory character. A lot of things that I wouldn't even like cross the street to avoid this person. I'd probably call the authorities to say there is someone, who's about to do something very
Yeah.
bad. I don't know what it is, but it's not good, whatever it is. Just keep an eye on him. You got surveillance on this kid because he's bad news. But at the same time, again, haven't seen it in a while, so I haven't remembered like everything that he did. I always remember that he wheezes the juice,
Yeah.
and one of my favorite Colleen Collette moments where it like he's there going to like the icy or whatever to the slushy, and she's just standing there just like just so over it. And I'm like, I've been there.
Yeah.
But I
Usually around
love
me. So yeah.
yeah. You're not that bad, but but no, I mean, meaning like,
Yeah.
you're around a guy where it's just kind of like, God, there are so many boxes that you check in one column, but the fact that you check these vital
Yes.
cancelable boxes, like this is not even negotiable. Like I can't
Yeah.
even be happy that I'm alone with you in a
And
situation because yeah,
he does a thing that I appreciate. And you see this in comedy so much when something absurd is happening and people are playing the absurdity of it,
yeah,
but I don't buy it because you're just playing the beat.
yeah,
It's funny, like his delivery. It needs to be funny. I really believe something is going up his ass
yes.
when he's like freaking out. I'm like, oh, like you're really playing it. Something just crawled up my head.
I laughed so hard when he screamed.
there's another version of this where that's, like, no offense to this guy, but the guy, the toilet paper guy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Get
yeah.
out of my butt! Like,
Yeah,
it's
right.
a funny reading, but like, no, if you're being
There's
violated
nothing
up
in
your
your butt.
ass,
There's nothing in your butt.
and yeah, it's a funny reading, but it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm like, oh, but that guy's really like committing to it.
Yeah.
Like his must, like there is a flex,
Oh yeah. And then when it comes
yeah.
out of his throat too, like you can see like,
Yeah.
like I'm just like, oh my God. Applause. But even
But
prior to that,
yeah,
one of the yes, please, 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 please.
I die because it's a character that annoying shouldn't be funny.
Yeah.
But when they invite her to the party, she's like, a senior party? A senior party?
I was just gonna say that. I laughed my ass off because again, I know that guy.
And there's no wit to it. It's just imitating with a bunch of ends, but he commits so.
But because he is so committed, I'm just kind of like, okay, this is why you cast like watchable people in roles like that, because it makes it, you're not quite in the room with them. You are a little bit on the outside, so you can't enjoy it. You can like watch an actor have a really good time playing a despicable, irredeemable person.
But he's still doing the work. And what's funny to me too is that I guess I didn't appreciate at the time what a get he was, but because no, it's just we're talking about not my demographic. I remember when Teen Wolf was announced, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to watch that. Like, I'm not the age that watches MTV. My first response was like, well, we already had Teen Wolf in the 80s. Wait, you're going serious with it? Fuck all this. This is not for me. It's not for me. So, like, I never watched a commercial. If there was ever, like, a photographic ad, I always just moved right past it. So I didn't know his face. Even though it existed in media, I avoided all that media. So I kept hearing like, oh, and Tyler Posey's, and I kept saying his name. I'm like, Tyler Posey, and then eventually like, oh, from Teen Wolf. And I go, oh, I don't watch that, but I presume he's someone in it. I didn't know until a few years later. Like, no, bitch, he's the Teen Wolf.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was the star of the show. And that show was currently on when they were making this. So like, I would say your first big get is Johnny Depp, and then you have some other people that like are pretty. Like Tony Hale and like Natasha Lyonne, these are all people that kind of showed up like a day. But I'm like, wow, Tyler Posey was like, Teen Wolf was a hit. Yeah, and he came out to do this. Like that's kind of a big get, and I think that's really cool of him. And I didn't really. This is gonna sound dumb. Like if I were him, he'd be like, you know me from what? I knew him from Yoga Hosers, and then years later in the pandemic, Goldfinger released their last album. And they did like a live show. I think it was the Troubadour maybe, but it was like pandemic era. So they're on stage. There's no crowd, but you can hear like maybe a handful of like 10 people kind of behind the cameras, just sort of there. And at one point, Tyler Posey comes up on stage and takes a guitar and plays with Goldfinger for like a few songs. I'm like, the Yoga Hosers boy is playing with Goldfinger right now. What the fuck is? But
no,
clearly,
he's an enterprising, talented young man. Yeah, no, last I heard, I don't know if he still has one, but last I heard, he had an OnlyFans where he would basically not just do sexual stuff, but he would play like guitar naked or whatever. Oh. And I mean, there's certainly a market for it.
No, he was so good at playing the guitar that I almost wish. I mean, I know his character's dead at this point, but it'd be fun if he came out in the credits and started playing with the Colleens. Because he can play,
Not like Ichabod standing there. That was another thing. Like, you know me, I love me some Adam Brody anyway. But just watching him, just like sook it. And you guys wouldn't talk to me like this if I was covered in tattoos in the flashback. Because the first time we see him, he is covered in tattoos, and the girls couldn't care less, and they're just sitting there doing the exact antithesis of what I would do if I were in a room with a shirtless Adam Brody who's trying to flex and show off for me. I would have just been like, oh, okay. But they're just kind of like, oh, look at his cute little nipples. Let's take photos of him and embarrass him and emasculate him.
He starts to cover up.
I know. And it's funny because like I don't remember if it even entered my brain because I was so happy to see him, the first time I saw the movie, and every time afterwards, I just kind of accepted he was there. This time, the first time, because of the discerning eye I'm trying to watch it with, I was just kind of like, the presence of this character among the Colleens, like the fact that they're so unfazed by his presence makes it okay, I guess. But
Yes.
I am kind of wondering, why is he there?
Yeah. Why are you with these teenage girls?
Yeah, you creepy
Yeah.
guy taking off your shirt, trying to like, like flex and show off, primp and everything like that yourself to impress like two 15-year-old girls. What's the end game here? Like, what are you? That's again like just a little bit more time on screen to kind of like get to know like what is your deal would have helped me there. I don't assume anything because I don't want to because we're not making
Mhm.
that movie,
And
but
the movie's
it
also
would have been
not giving you
nice.
any hint of that. I mean,
No, my
I
mind
mean,
went there.
my impression is, I mean, if you want me to like read into it, is that like no other band would want him. So these two are like really his only option if he wants to play.
And I love that it took them apparently this long to arrive at Dickabod and for him to he
Dude,
criticizes them for
that got
taking
such a
that long.
that got such a big laugh, and it's such a good and it's the sincerity, the affront of I call you Dickabod.
Yeah. Yeah, the present tense of it all. Like it's not like we're gonna call you Dickabod. I call you Dickabod. It's like, yeah, you're condemned. You are now condemned,
Yeah,
sir.
he was being kind of a shit, so I'm fine with that.
But also, I just love him, like, nailing them for, like, I can't believe it took you this long to arrive at Dickapod. But,
Oh, and first I love we talked about this a little bit in Tusk, how
yeah.
it's Kevin Smith's Canada. It's a cartoon
Yeah.
Canada,
Hmm.
and this movie more so. But he's like, what's the exact line? I think I wrote it down just so I could not fuck it up, and now I'm struggling to find it. But he's wait, 3, 2, 1.5. Oh yeah, he's like they go back in the store, and he's like, all right, so I'll see you guys Friday, eh?
Oh, right.
I said, eh? Like the emphasis on that's the thing you need to repeat.
Right.
But it's Kevin Smith's Canada.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah. It's in Kevin Smith's eyes, Canada's version of right.
Exactly.
I'll see you tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Yes. And he nails that kind of shit. I was so excited because there's when you start watching the Chasing Amy to the Mallrats, the dog, you start seeing the Matt Damons show up once and then again and then again, and then we get Selma Hayek, or whoever the fuck comes back. He was in Cop Out, but when he showed up in this, I'm like, return player, not Adrian, Adam Brody. Like,
Adam Brody, Adrian Brody. That's another get if he got him, but yeah, no,
right.
Adam Brody.
No, but and Adam Brody has since become a return player after this too. But but the second it becomes return player Adam Brody, I'm already endeared.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime someone makes a decision to come back, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Although I welcome newcomers like Tony Hale. Fucking what a win,
Sure. And I've been listening to Nicole Byer and Sashir Zameda's Best Friends podcast while I work. Like it's just something that I have.
Seeing her show up in this.
Oh my God, because I forgot that she was in it. So when she came up, at first I was just kind of like, is that Sashir? And I know her voice so well that I just heard her intonation. I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot you were in this movie. Now I'm just gonna like concentrate on you. And I just love her. Again, like I just would have kind of loved a little bit more. Like, okay, you brought in this awesome person who I love and I love seeing in your movie. I can't remember if they bring her back. Don't tell me because I want to be surprised if she is. But but because it was another one where I was just kind of like, okay, well, what is Sashir Zameda doing in this movie? Like, I mean, she's a working actress. She is like turning it out. She will show up and do stuff. But I couldn't even remember if she was on SNL while they were shooting this, or if she had like
that's a good question. If she
prior,
just left,
because she had like a few, like just I think just like a couple seasons that she was on, and then she had other things to do, and I still haven't seen Agatha All Along, and I know she's in that, and I can't wait because I've heard. There was a reel of like Nicole Byer having Patty Lupone with Sashir Zameda on the Best Friends podcast, and she's asking Patty like, I want to know what it's like to work with my best friend, and Patty just says like, she is one of the most present, most available, most spontaneous, most interesting people I have ever worked with, and Sashir's just sitting there all quiet and sweet because that's what she does, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's one day I'll get there, but
as the kids say, that cast is fire.
Yes.
Fuck that
Chef's
show.
kiss.
That show is watchable as fuck.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Bringing it back to the theme of best friends, like that's another thing that I appreciate about like these two girls too, is like I'm finding the world getting heavier, these days and harder to kind of like bear, and I have to find a means of distracting myself. And a lot of the content that I consume, be it podcasts, television shows, movies, the things that I seem to be reacting to the most strongly, and this has been true for a while actually, but it's only getting stronger, are the things where I get to watch people kind of be decent to each other, even
Hmm.
in instances where they don't have to be. It's not, there's no incentive. They're not trying to get someone to do something for them or something, like that. You're just kind of like watching people coexist, and the nature of the relationship is just kind of like they're existing the whole time. And you just get to see little kindnesses. We've already expressed a number of them between the Colleens in this movie, like the oh, or the or they're like, oh, it's so nice that you'd say that, man. Well, of course, like whatever,
Yeah.
like those things. Just watching exchanges of decency, and I had a lot of that ringing for me in the movie. Just watching them kind of like have each other's backs, and like it is kind of like a dick move. Not only that Mackenzie leaves Colette alone with Nardy, but just her face as she walks out, just kind of like as she's making her way out, just like, you bitch! But the fact that it's not like, I feel like Colleen Collette can like definitely hold herself, like all she's got to do is just like cross her arms and just like roll her eyes at him, because like he's not even focused on her. um
Yeah.
and who knows what her, she might have her own Moyle, who knows, but it's never like something where I'm just kind of like, that's a dick move, but it's never something where I'm just kind of like, okay, you crossed the line. You're going to need to talk about this now. It's always something where it's just kind of like, yeah, but we're friends. Like, and who knows, maybe Colette owes Mackenzie for putting her in a similar situation
Oh,
like
yeah.
prior to
Yeah. Who
that. We don't
knows?
know. But the thing is, like, I just kind of like enjoy watching them, like, the fact that that's another thing, is like I love being surprised and watching things matter to them. You're actually kind of, now I'm remembering, I just introduced my mom to Final Destination 3 for the first time
Hmm.
a couple weeks ago for my sister's birthday. She wanted to watch it, and she wanted my mom to see it with her. And we saw like those girls, I don't know if you remember, the ones who are like in
The
the tanning
tanning bed.
beds.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was kind of refreshing seeing it again, because another one that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was like, oh my God, they're actually being their version of decent. They're
Yes.
not just walking around like looking at their phones, like sipping their Slurpees and everything like that, being bitches. They're actually like, you know what, let's go invite, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, like to go tanning with us, because like, she's kind of alone, and she's kind of like, and we're like, oh, that's not something she would say yes to, but you're being your version of like nice and a good person, and like, doing like a decent thing, and you're not gonna like, make her pay for you to, it's not like the thing where you're trying to trick somebody. Like there's something similar like in that kind of like vibe, where it's like I'm not just getting like an annoying teenager, but I'm also getting like two people who like care about their yoga at so much to the point where they don't want to do yoga in gym class, so they will have their Yogi Bear write a note for them so they can show it, because they don't want their practice being polluted by anyone else. And it pays off, because they don't practice any of that gym shit when they're defending themselves in the climax of the
No.
film, or even against the Bratzies. It's everything that they've summoned from Yogi. And I don't know. I like the fact that they're, even Yogi like is taking it seriously and being, while being ridiculous, but it serves a purpose. So
Hmm.
all of that, like it can be ridiculous at the end of the day or at the beginning, whatever. But I like that there's like something soft to it, something that I can connect to, that feels human and on an almost subliminal level. Like they all give a shit about this practice. And it
Even
means something.
even even when it's played for laughs,
Yeah.
you are touching on something, because about their friendship and their support of each other. To me, when it's played for laughs is when they take it. You find out they take shits together,
Yeah.
and John and Guy Lapointe really bumps into that. Like, and then they
Like
go,
that's
no, like
disgusting. Yeah.
she's my best friend. Why,
Like
why
why
wouldn't
wouldn't
I?
I? Yeah. It's how we roll.
Right. That's actually,
What's
it's silly, but it's
she's
sweet.
she's my friend. She doesn't like to go alone.
Just like
So
to
I'm
go
gonna be
alone.
there for her. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
that's nice,
Yeah.
and it's funny. And I'm glad you brought up the yoga stuff because I feel like there's also a version of this movie where the yoga depicted in the movie is legitimate actual yoga. But I like that. No, this is a Kevin Smith movie. It's going to be stupid as shit. And I have to imagine that anyone who is an actual yoga enthusiast probably, and saw the title, would look at stuff like pretentious frog. I'll eat grass-fed flies, and stuff like Atlas shrugged.
Yes.
Atlas shrugged, dissatisfied customer. Is this a dissatisfied customer? Like, it's all dumb, goofy fucking shit. But which to me makes it all the more fun that it's the way that this is cartoony Canada. This is also cartoony yoga.
Yeah.
And you need Justin Long to sell the pretension of foot and mouth.
Like to be socially awkward person.
Yoga fet. It's Kevin Smith yoga. Like it's And then so it was actually rather jarring when at one point they talked about Downward Dog, and I'm like, that's a real one.
Yeah.
Now, but then they go to Three-Legged
Dog. Yeah, and because there was Upward Dog, their favorite dog, and then there was Downward Dog, and then there was Three-Legged Dog
and Two-Legged Dog.
Two-Legged Dog
with the
on his
little
card.
So I'm like, I bet Downward Dog's real. Is Three-Legged Dog real? I don't fucking know because I've never done it, but
I doubt it.
And then by the time I presume Lotus is real too.
Yeah, Lotus position is pretty neutral. Yeah.
But then he uses Lotus to talk about doing Lotus where you take a shit and the poo slides right out. So it's still the silly. There's always been something for there's something that I used to be at odds with when I was younger about when I used to talk about, I'm the Chasing Amy and Kevin Smith, like Clerks fan, when it's about real characters and emotion. None of this, Mallrats is fun, but I used to look down on people who were just like Snoochie Boochies and Jay and Bob. And I've learned to really, get over that pretension. But for all the nuance that comes with some of the writing and the emotional truths that come from like Clerks and Clerks 2 and Chasing Amy and ideas that are put forth in Dogma, I do love that throughout all those, and other ones where they lean harder into this, is a very juvenile, very dumb, punny thing that comes with a lot of his stuff. Like Clerks 2, for all its laughs and for all its emotional resonance, the movie signage would never say like "come in" like COU or COME. It's always like "come in." Like
right.
There's always just the most basic level of like immature juvenile punnery.
Well,
but what I'm getting at is, I love that no matter how old he gets, that will always be there. And maybe some people might look down on it. I always find it pleasant. So even in this movie, that's like kind of not aimed for children.
Yeah.
Because there's teenagers, but like also kids always kind of look to what's a little bit older, So I imagine, 10 to 12-year-olds looking at these 15-year-old girls. But I love that the store is littered with that kind of bullshit. But my favorite joke that's so unnecessary is when they're fighting the Bratzies and it flies through a sign that says artisanal syrups and it breaks through the art, so then it says anal syrups.
Yes. And then
not needed.
No, I know.
Fucking great though. Fucking great.
And then there are some that I feel absolutely age appropriate for. Like one of the things that I really loved about Garmin at the end, like doing all of his impressions, is the fact that the girls don't get any of them. They don't know who these people are. And then finally he gets to Al Pacino and Mackenzie's just kind of like, who's Al Pacino? And Colette's just like, Al Pacino. He was an American president. With such authority. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is really sweet. And it feels sadly kind of authentic.
Yes. Well, that's well, I mean, there's something at all, like, this is such a strange, I'll never forget when there was a movie. It was called Anything Else. It was a Woody Allen movie, starred
Oh,
Jason
okay.
Biggs and Christina Ricci.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
And he, prior to that, I think had done coming. This was it was like mid. It was post American Pie, but the
Okay.
previous few movies he'd done had all starred, for lack of a better word, adults.
Okay.
And then with this, he wrote like 220 somethings.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Biggs and Christina Ricci is in New York. And I remember at one point they bump into someone and they go, "Oh, hey, what are you doing right now?" "Oh, I'm going over to this studio. My friend's in a jazz band. Do you want to come watch us? They're going to record a jazz album." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And my buddy and I were like, Woody Allen, just so you know, in 2005, 20-year-olds don't for fun just go watch a recording of a jazz album. Like, I'm sure
No.
that might have happened in New York in like 1968 or 1970 maybe, but like kids today,
No.
like it was weird watching Woody Allen try to write 20 somethings in 2005. It was
Oh
bad.
God.
Um, and every once in a while I get like hints of that in certain media, in a good way and a bad way. And I remember watching this movie and it opens with them covering an Anthrax song. And I'm like, I get how Kevin Smith probably listened to Anthrax in the 80s. But with these girls, I'm not criticizing because there's always going to be someone who's into something else that you wouldn't expect,
Sure.
you know? And
Sure.
I bump into, I watched that, I forgot what I was watching recently where like there was like a teenager who was referencing something. I'm like, how the fuck would you know? I'm like, well, actually, when I was your age, I referenced things from the 60s and 70s that I watched on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
So like, whatever. I guess that, that's what I'll never forget. A friend of mine in high school, total goth chick, she shouldn't pigeonhole anyone because you get home and her own video collection, she had like 25 Elvis movies. And I'm like,
Oh
I
my
never would have guessed
God.
between all your Bauhaus and shit that you
Yeah.
were like an Elvis fan of some of the shittiest movies ever made. Like
Uh-huh.
they would crank these out like 5 in a year, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
So yeah,
sure.
so these girls, I mean, their band's called Glamthrax, so like I get it, but like
Yeah.
it's just yeah, the adult in his 50s or whatever writing for these teenage girls and how much they
Yeah.
bring to it, we're like, well, we say basic, so we're going to throw basic in here a lot, but
Yeah.
they also know enough about music
Mhm.
to do Anthrax.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I mean, there is a world where like, I mean, we exist in a world where, you can you can know one song. Doesn't mean you're going to know everything about the band. Like
Yeah.
you can cover a song and just be kind of like, oh, I haven't heard anything about, or even like, who was it? I don't even remember which. I think it was like one of the Friday the 13th like retrospective documentaries that they had done. Maybe his name was Jason, and there was someone one talking to like a little boy who was like 10 years old, and they brought up like Friday, that they worked on Friday the 13th, and he was like, "Oh my God, I know about Jason." He was just going like, "Really? You're 10? Have you seen those movies?" Like, "I haven't seen any of the movies, but I know everything about Jason Voorhees." Like he knew the lore because I
Yeah.
guess he'd watched like the breakdown YouTube videos, like where they could do the kill
I've
counts and stuff
I've
like
been that
that.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hell,
yeah.
dude, I was that way about Kevin Smith before I saw Clerks and Mallrats.
Oh, wow.
Because I found his stories. Like I was reading an Entertainment Weekly about him, and I knew about Spike, Mike, Slackers, and Trigger Warning Dykes. That book, like I would pick up
Mm-mm.
that book and read all about what was happening in independent cinema and who Spike Lee was
Sure,
before I ever
sure.
saw Spike Lee movie, before I ever saw a Kevin Smith movie. So, but I knew I
Nice.
wanted to know about certain things, and yeah,
Yeah. I probably got my own examples of that, but my memory is shot these days. I don't remember what I didn't know.
I learned a lot about Doctor Who before I ever saw Doctor Who, just because
Oh, okay. What did I
that
learn?
was
I guess I knew shit about, I mean, because I did not watch Friends while it was on television, and I did
same,
not want to. And then but
same.
I knew things like, oh, Monica used to be fat. Oh, I know that, what's his name? David Schwimmer's character, Ross. I knew that Ross like had like been in love with Rachel since they were, teenagers and stuff like that. And that they had that they were the on again, off again couple. I didn't watch it. People tried to get me to, and I would sit there for like 5 minutes and go like, "There's nothing funny about this." Now I know it like the back of my hand, the series. I don't watch it anymore, thank God. But I watched it enough, like within like a 3-year block before I could tell like how problematic everything it was, like between like 2007 and 2010. And now I don't watch it anymore because I can't watch it without going like, oh, I don't, oh. Now it's not funny for other reasons. But anyway.
Oh,
Just like a lot of, like fat jokes, gay jokes. I'm just kind of like,
Oh yeah.
a lot of it's the whitest New York has ever been. I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't need to watch this anymore. I got it. It's in
So
here.
really impressively large apartment space that a waitress.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, chef.
Even
See, I know that. I know
no,
that
I
Monica's
know.
a chef.
No, no, I'm not talking about Monica. I'm talking about Rachel.
Oh,
Coffee
Rachel.
house. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Coffee house waitress.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, gotcha.
That's yeah. um, but I don't know if I have more to say about how they back each other up. But there's so much that's just there's a silliness to them that they support each other also. Like again with the toilet, and they don't see anything wrong with it. And I love, and this is to me it's a callback of Tusk when they're talking about the mustache man. They're like, oh, that they're like, oh, that guy. Well, that's the toilet paper guy. Well, why do you call him toilet paper man? Wait, you call him toilet paper man? And they're like, well, yeah.
He bought toilet paper.
Well, why? Yeah. Well, he bought toilet paper. And to them, like, well, Guy is the one that makes no sense. They're like, what? That's his nickname, toilet paper man. Duh.
Yeah.
and I love just that kind of, I don't want to say support, but yeah. Also, you were talking about how they weren't getting the impressions.
Yeah.
It's just a personal thing for me, but I love that that I have friends, not just you. I have other friends who like yoga hosers that are my age.
Yes.
And that just makes me happy that this movie connected with other people that I can speak about it with. Like you, thank you for being here today and all that. But
yeah, no problem.
It makes me so happy that sometimes randomly the word Batman will come up and Tracy will just go, where's the trigger?
Yeah. Joker, where's the trigger? He never said that line.
He never said that to the Joker.
Yeah, to the Joker. No, please.
But stop. I love that that's a genuine, but that like there is a trigger on the boat in The Dark Knight with the Joker, but he says, where's the trigger? In Dark Knight Rises. So I like that they actually naturally confuse two things that you would confuse if you're not like a hardcore. But just I love when someone just goes on a tangent, so just watch them over and over go, where's the trigger? He says like, where's the trigger? Oh my fucking God. For all when you're sharing a scene with Johnny Depp and Ralph Garman firing at what Ralph Garman excels at, and the fact that my biggest takeaway is you two going, where's the trigger? That's really good work.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things because also I know exactly what they're talking about. Like I get, I'm watching it. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, Bale does kind of do that.
But there's also also that whole generation. Like, that's not bad. It's like Bart Simpson when he met Adam West. Like, who the hell's Robin? Like,
yeah, right.
That's not Batman. What are you talking about? Speaking of which.
Also, yeah.
You also go ahead because mine's unrelated.
No, I just said 100%. You talk.
One of my favorite moments where I honestly ever, I'm not just saying that this because he's passed, but one of my favorite like reactions to like a cameo was I'm sitting in the theater and my brain is Batman the Animated Series, the voice of Batman. Kevin Conroy walks on screen and I just went because how often do you get to see his face? Just getting to act in things.
And again, like the reason he's there is because Kevin Smith is directing the movie. There would no other director would have put him in that role.
Yeah, and but the gravitas he brings of that's not very Canadian.
Yeah, right. They're like, come on, Robin.
And the fact that he's got this little R button on his jacket, like fucking squeed so hard.
Do you remember who the boy is?
I want to say,
is he significant?
I think the trivia was that's his son, right?
Okay, I thought so, maybe. Because he looks so sweet and unassuming, like he didn't look like an actor.
You're right. I'm pretty sure that might have been his son in real life.
Okay.
I know that the boy who makes fun of Colleen for the sea cow, that's Johnny Depp's son. That's Lily-Rose's brother.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I love that he's flipping off his sister too, and that she's like, "Oh, that kid's awesome!" I'm like, "Oh, you're talking about your." That's funny.
It was funny because I was wondering about them, so I actually like went to Instagram because it's kind of the only social media I engage in now, and I just wanted to see like, oh, are they still hanging out? I wonder. And there's no indicator, like when you go on Instagram as to like what someone's like practices in their life and everything.
Yeah.
But I scrolled for a while and I couldn't find any photos of them like, present day this past year like together or anything like that. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of like because I think at the end credits when I just saw like the Colleens will return in Moose Jaws. I was wondering like, oh, will
Yeah.
they?
I
And
fucking hope so, just because
yeah,
their careers and time has gone on.
yeah,
I hope he can get them back for like a day. Because that
yeah.
isn't a promise that they're starring in the movie.
No, 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 no,
They
no.
can be in it for as much as they're in Tusk, for all I care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I still haven't seen Dave Eggers' Nosferatu, which I understand Lily-Rose Depp is in.
And
So
she's
looking forward to seeing
quite
that.
good.
Oh, good. Looking forward to seeing that. And of
Yeah.
course, I saw Harley Quinn in 4:30 movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And no spoilers, but yeah, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and also, oh, and I saw one thing I did see that really, really made me laugh was also just like again, like seeing the bond between like Kevin and Harley. They were shooting, I guess they were doing something where I couldn't tell if they were talking like you and I are, like via Zoom or Skype or something, or if they were literally sitting across a table from each other and just had like webcams or cameras, like positioned to capture them sitting across from each other, but it looked like they were in the same room. And he was cracking her up to the point where she just said like fuck you like because he was teasing her, and I was just gonna like, oh my god, I love that Kevin Smith's kid tells she's an
Uh-huh.
adult now too, but I love
Yeah.
that like that she can say like fuck you in a way that just makes him laugh his fucking ass off while he's teasing her about something. I think it was
There,
about her abilities as an actress, but like something she did when she was a kid. Like it was the first time in front of a camera where she had to deliver a line or something and she was having trouble with it, but she wasn't a trained actor, and he's like teasing her about like it's one simple thing and you couldn't do it. She's like, fuck you, I was a
yeah.
kid. Just,
Well, it's been addressed by him, like that, like he asked her like, how was I as a father? And she's like, I don't know, I didn't really think of you as a father. I thought of you more as like a friend.
wow.
Much to the what seems like the chagrin of Jennifer, where she's like, oh yeah, like it was the name of
Yeah.
like they've been on podcasts before, but the name of the podcast right now is called Beardless Dickless Me. Um, because Jennifer would refer to Harley. She's like a beardless, dickless you. So the way you're describing that encounter, I'm like, yeah, she can say "fuck you" to him because, like,
Yeah.
she's, yeah, that's the nature of that thing. And honestly, I think it's cute that Harley makes Kevin laugh the way like Mosier back when the Smodcast, like, it's
100%.
like Smodcast 2.0. It's
It
cute.
is. Yeah. Even just the clips that I was watching, I was like, oh, I got to get on board with this because this is fun. I think I need the visual component too, because there's something about just watching their facial reactions to one another. I mean, again, like this is in the oddest way, this is a family film.
Yeah,
You
absolutely,
know?
in the honest
I,
way.
yeah, like on a
I
subliminal,
mean,
like like truth serum kind of level, like where you're just kind of like, oh, I know who you guys really are to each other. That's fun.
I mean, I didn't even think about it, but like when she's beating up the Bratzi, she's essentially beating the shit out of her dad.
Yeah,
Like
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Another one where I'm just kind of
that.
like, I
Oh my
wonder
god.
if someone who's never seen Clerks before and just watches Yoga Hosers knows what that moment is about,
And I'm sure
Like,
it works fine because they're
because
being forced
yeah,
to work that night.
she's not supposed to be there
But you know
that night,
what's
right? Yeah,
great about that is that that's such a obvious callback line. It
yeah.
almost should make me groan. But with
Hmm.
the in the context of the moment and the way it's performed, the ferocity of how she like it's fucking great. It makes me
Yeah,
kind of clap and laugh and do all the
yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And the number of boots and oots and everything. You
So
gotta
many
help
of
us
boots.
oot. Yeah, you gotta
So
help
many
us
of
oot.
boots. Well,
Get Ooty here.
I think one of my favorites is the toilet paper guy when he hears someone in the park and he goes, "Kamut, Kamut, wherever you are." It's so fucking dumb. I love it.
It
That
is.
that and just Colleen's like, well, she doesn't have her. They take her phone away. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna pass out."
I'm gonna pass out. That's then just here
Uh,
I go. And then she just collapses out of the frame.
because we were talking about all the accents.
Yeah.
First of all, I love that she announces it before she falls. It's a great
Yeah.
beat. It's a great beat. No, but so many of the actors do their version of Canadian accent. I kind of like that the two Colleens pretty much just talk like themselves, but just say oot instead of out
Yes.
a bunch of times. But they're the only kind of two that don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that actually works.
Yeah, I do too.
And then, I mean, they're silly in their own ways, but without, yeah. But yeah, there's this there's like a bigger, there's so much heightened Canada beyond just like and I like that they got one real good take off, and it's Colleen Colette right before she smacks one. She's like, "Take off," and she whacks him. But again, as if everything you knew about Canada was just from SCTV skits or something.
Sure.
But I talked about that dumb punnery, you know.
Yeah.
I love that the cereal, we have Pucky Charms
Yes.
and Cheery A's. And it's not honey nut, it's like maple nut Cheery A's.
Right.
All that speaking of signage, I was going to talk about this on the next episode when we talked about Reboot.
Yeah.
Because I thought that Reboot was the one that retroactively kind of pulled in some other previous movies that weren't View Askew into View Askew.
Oh.
Including Yoga Hosers and Tusk. But I realize now, because I never noticed until this viewing, that on the fridge windows or the doors, the glass doors, there are ads for Chuli's gum.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So I'm like, this is the movie that retroactively brings the Askewniverse to.
Oh my god! Oh,
but
only thing
it's there. Yeah, it's. I always kept looking at there's like a microwave poutine.
Yeah.
And I always look at that sign, but like right underneath it, there's a fucking giant Chuli's gum ad.
Oh my god, haven't seen that. Okay, the only thing I noticed that I kind of like drew back was like when they after they have their urinary tract infection sign that they take down and everything, the first sign.
Yes.
And they open up the doors like, sorry about that, and all that. Doesn't Kevin Smith's mom, the milkmaid, like walk in? I don't know if she's dressed as the milkmaid.
She's not. I never thought she was the milkmaid. It's just his mom has a cameo.
I just always see her and I think like, oh, the milkmaid.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? Maybe she was traveling through Canada.
I never thought. I just always thought, oh, it's his mom.
I thought she was making a beeline for the milk. That's what the second I saw her, I was just like, she's going to buy milk. I bet. And then we don't see her.
And then we don't see her.
In my headcanon, she does.
I mean, there's callbacks to like, you know, obviously they put a sign up at the door while they go do something else.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And I know, I think as far as like personal deep cuts, I think one of the signs they put up is bubonic plague back in 5. I think back in the day, Kevin and like Brian Johnson really did put up that sign.
Oh my gosh.
And I think they got like in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Also, so there's another. I just want to point out a few little things because we talked about this before about that. These are the little things that Kevin Smith kind of wanted to do, and like he got to have this. I also like that in a. He's talked about for years how he wants to do a Satanist movie, like how he has. And I think we even talked about how like he has an idea for a Red State sequel. Yeah, but it's Satanists, and I know at one point he had a movie called Hell in a Handbasket that was about a girl named Helena, not Hell in but at one point he wanted to do a movie called Race for the Devil just because he liked the title Race for the Devil because he likes the original movie too. But there's always been like he's like I've always wanted to do Satanists, and I'm like, well, Yoga Hosers like it's not the main driving force, but when I see Austin Butler and Tyler Posey, I'm like, oh, but you're getting to do the thing you've wanted to do, like
sure.
They're talking about Satan. They're going to do a sacrifice. Like it scratches that itch.
Yeah.
So I just think that's kind of cute. And again, it's weird to consider it a horror movie, but like people are killed. There are Satanists. There is a monster made of human flesh at the end. So like I get the fact that like he wants to like once they get their phone backs from Principal Invincible and they're leaving the school, I don't know if it's exactly the Halloween music, but it is the piano, like dee doo dee, like it's the John Carpenter piano music. And then twice they play The Shining, like the
the Disarray,
or is it Dearest Ire? Let me know in the comments.
I've always heard Disarray, but
I've heard. Yeah, well, either way, that.
I could be wrong.
And even that, is a callback because, and that's I really like they play it in Clerks too, when when Elias is explaining pillow pants.
That's right.
And I love it because it helps us, like Randall's reaction, but the music really adds to the creepiness
perfect.
of like, and just that creepiness of like, pillow pants is her pussy troll. Like, just like he's kind of like laughing at how silly it sounds, but it's the way like a serial killer kind of laughs about.
Lister Fiend is her mouth troll, isn't it?
Yeah, and just like the lighting, the underhead lighting from the fries, like
but it's perfect.
I love that Kevin Smith likes that music and executes it, in these very
same.
Yeah. I feel like there's something that needs to be, I don't know. I just need to discuss the fact that like the earlier in the movie, Guy Lapointe goes on and on about the critics. The critics came after him for his book. And then the villain's grand plan isn't actually a Nazi agenda. It's before I joined the Nazi party, I was an artist and I stopped being. I joined the Nazi party because the critics. So now my grand plan is to get revenge on all the critics, and I remember at the time going, "This is funny," because the critics have not liked the last several movies. I like that you're also saying that like it's the villain's agenda. So like going after the critics is a bad thing. But I love that they go to Johnny Depp and he's like, "Well, he's not talking about real people. He's talking about critics."
I mean, isn't he? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, isn't the ultimate like revenge like just not even behaving as though? I mean, you get to say whatever you want about them, but also just like creating as if they don't exist, knowing that they're probably going to shoot down whatever I do anyway. So you know what? I'm literally just going to have the best time possible, and it's going to be what it's going to be, and people will find it, people won't find it, but I'm just going to make this thing with people I care about, and end of story. Period. You know?
Well, there was a thing with Tusk, and I think he said about this too, where he's like, I made the movie that I wanted to see. Like, this movie isn't here. I want to see it, so I'm going to go make it.
Right.
And I understand that the impetus for this came a little bit more from like he kept watching the scene of the Colleens in Tusk over and over, and he would bring Jen in. He's like, "Look at the scene, aren't they great? Why do I keep watching the scene over and over?" She's like, "You idiot! It's two people behind a counter in a convenience store." Like, but like this idea of like, there's more here. I want to make a whole movie out of that. Yes, making the movie that you want to make is, I guess, the ultimate revenger. I know, maybe success, but whatever you're satisfied with, fine. But I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the little things I don't want to say that bugs me about Kevin Smith, because that's not the right wording. But if I ever had just like a minute one-on-one, if I ever could say one thing to him, not thank you for your work or anything, it's just that like, and he's talked about this years ago. I forget what was the first movie. I think it was Mallrats. But when he said many in Q&As, Evening with Kevin Smith's podcast, he's talked about preemptively, like if people are going to come for him, he likes to attack before they can. Right. So he preemptively takes the wind out of his own sails. So like he'll bag on Mallrats. He'll refer to himself as like, "Oh yeah, I'm the guy who made fucking Tusk." And then after Tusk, when before that, "Oh, I'm the guy who made fucking Cop Out."
Yeah.
And that self-deprecation, I get why you're doing it. You've explained why you do it. I just wish you didn't find the need to do it, because it evolved from "I'm the guy who made fucking Cop Out" to "I'm the guy who made the fucking Walrus movie," and then it became, for a few years, "I'm the guy who made fucking Yoga Hosers." I know I'm probably in the minority, but I really like this movie, and I'm sure there are other little weirdos who that movie speaks to, and I know other adult friends who like this movie. And if I ever had 1 minute, I'd just be like, you made a movie that entertained people, that made them happy. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's so when I'm the guy who made fucking Yoga Hosers, I'm like, don't say that. It should be, I'm the guy who made fucking Yoga Hosers. Like, people enjoy it. I don't need you to self-deprecate a movie just because it didn't do well. Like, and I get it's a public thing. I just for your own mental health, just fucking stop. You don't need to. There's
Well,
nothing wrong with making a thing that is silly that amuses people.
old habits die hard.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah, there's nothing I can do to change his mind. But fucking,
I
it's
mean,
like it's a hoot.
I feel like I get it. Like I connect with like
Yeah, and
that
well,
impulse.
I get the impulse. I just
Yeah.
enough.
Okay.
You,
That's sweet.
you
Yeah.
don't need to anymore. You're good.
I understand. It's like if the closest thing I can liken it to is like if I'm around a friend and they're kind of like getting down on themselves and I just want to tell them like, hey, that's my friend you're talking about. Stop, like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's my Kevin Smith you're talking about. That's my
It,
yoga
it-
hosers you're talking
yeah, if
about.
I heard
Like,
somebody else like talking about you the way you're talking about yourself right now, I'd be like, shut up,
yeah,
or say something even more insightful and, persuasive. But
yeah,
ultimately, like my energy would be like, hey, watch it. I care about that person and I care about what they make. And so stop, just dogging on it, But at the same time, if it's another person, I'd probably be like, you do better. But I can't say that to Kevin
yeah.
Smith talking about himself. I mean, like the only thing but at the same time, like, I mean, because I streamed it when I watched it last night, I got it off Peacock, and Peacock insists on having the fucking. Now, I disagree with, using this as a barometer anyway, but you got the fucking Rotten Tomatoes score,
Oh
both
yeah,
the
they put
critic
it.
score
Yeah,
and the fucking audience score, like sitting there with like your little toppled over popcorn and whatever. And so it was like staring me in the face like right before I saw it, and really, really low scores. I think like the audience score is 30 something, and it's even lower for the critic score, it's like 20 something. And I was just kind of like, I don't carry that in with me or anything like that, but it just made me kind of go like, oh, and then I click play.
yeah.
Because I was like, I mean, less and less I find that I connect with any kind of ranking system or rating system or anything like that. I mean, even though, I mean, I've fallen off with Letterboxd for a while just for that very reason, because like it's become less and less about like what is the score that I would give this movie, and more like, well, me looking at, well, what other scores did I give other movies? Well, I like it better than that one, so it's definitely more stars than that. But I don't think I'd return to it as often as this one I gave 5 stars, so it's not 5 stars. Maybe it's 4.5 or something like, like that. It's all relative. Like, so even the
Yeah.
ranking itself, like you have to give credence to the system that's put in place. I can't just like go off of my mind and go say my gut says this, because then I'll look at and compare other things I gave different ratings and be like, oh well, no, that's grossly inconsistent, and
Oh yeah,
it's just
Eddie.
a headache I
Just
don't need.
yeah, just don't give a shit about that. Don't do that.
Exactly. No, but I don't. Then what's the point in even like doing it if I'm not going to give credence to it as like as a
Because
structure or
sometimes
anything
I'll
like
give a
that?
movie like 4 stars because of the craft and what I saw, and then there's other movies that are clearly not as good, but I fucking just love to death and got 4 stars. And I,
Well, I'm more
I
anally
don't,
retentive than
I don't
you
need
are.
to, I don't need to try to, yeah, fuck it. They're just,
No,
I
but
don't care.
you give me a structure I need to play into it, because it's just I don't know if it's the
Well,
Virgo
you
in
can
me, but it's my
also
personality type.
you can make it whatever you want to make it, though. I mean,
Yeah, you can.
no, no, your interface with the app. I have a friend. She
Mhm.
doesn't rank anything.
Right.
She likes to log what she saw, but she's
Hmm.
like, I don't need to.
I mean, it's like a puzzle. Like it was enjoyable for a while. I'll probably get back there, but like, like I need to reacquaint myself with like movies anyway. Like I so rarely like get to engage like in movies just because I feel like going to see a movie. Like it happens really rarely these days. So I need to completely reconfigure my movie going
Sure.
apparatus and decorum. But anyway, the whole reason I bring it up is just because like I look at Rotten Tomatoes and it's a flawed structure at best. And yeah, because positive or negative reviews, and then we compile them all together and use those to like create some kind of percentage that like it's an indicator
Have
as
I
to like the merit of the film itself. Like fuck that shit.
have I given
So
you my Rotten Tomatoes rant before? I feel like I haven't.
I feel like you have, but you go ahead. Put a record.
Yeah,
Go for it.
just because I fucking
Yeah.
not only do I dis, it serves its purpose. It's the weight that the public has given Rotten Tomatoes, and now what the studios have used to promote their movies because of the weight that's been. Well, this movie now is 90%. I'm like, okay, hold on. We're talking
Yeah.
about a spectrum of opinions
Hmm.
that you now are putting into a binary of positive or negative.
Right.
Okay, so if a movie gets 90% positive, but those positive reviews are mostly just, it was all right,
Yeah.
because you have to go through that opinion and find what counts as positive or negative.
Right.
So 90% positive sounds great, but if it's just like a fucking like weird Minions sequel, and they're like, "Oh yeah," everyone's like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all right."
Yeah. Yeah.
There are movies that are very polarizing,
Yeah.
that are big swings, where half of the audience goes, "This is fucking amazing."
Oh yeah.
Half the audience goes, "I don't fucking get that. I don't like that."
Yeah.
50%, 50% fresh. All right, that could be a way more interesting movie,
Yeah.
and potentially be a really great movie at
Mhm.
50%.
Yeah.
But because so whenever some numbnuts in my life, when a movie comes up, they go, "Oh, it's getting really high on Rotten Tomatoes."
No.
My brain shuts down. Like, you
Mm-mm.
don't ever say that to me. And they say that
No.
like it matters. They
Yeah.
say
No.
that like it's an actual opinion about the movie, when it's just an
Mm-mm.
aggregate of positive or
Mm-hmm.
negative comments, and it has
Yeah.
ruined the discourse for average Joes, because average Joes go, "Oh yeah, Gladiator 2, didn't get that great around tomatoes." Shut the fuck up. Did you see the movie? What did you think about the movie?
100%. Yeah. That's
What
what it
did
is.
people think about the movie? If you tell me some critics that I follow said this and some said that, but oh man, I only got 60%,
Yeah.
that just says like that. It makes you sound dumb.
The closest way I can gauge it is the way I usually phrase it is like the rhetoric that surrounds this movie. Like the way people and you need sometimes you don't need time to gauge that if you're talking about just like the immediate kind of like reaction that seems to be dominating and I'll always attribute it to like dominating my story feed. I don't know what other people's story feeds. You have to speak with specificity and with
Mm-hmm.
intention and acknowledge exactly what it is rather than just go kind of like, well, Rotten Tomatoes. I better stay away because thumbs down. And no,
Yeah, that's. I mean, I used to love watching Siskel and Ebert when they were talking about the movie they just saw, but I always
uh,
hated when it became. When you had to after that conversation, especially when they
mhm.
say, a very cautious thumbs up, and I'm like, great. At the end of the day, though, it's just going to be in a print ad, thumbs up,
Yeah,
and all that discussion isn't there when you just
yeah.
limit it to this or that.
No, it's become more and more just in
Or
terms of
see
like,
it, don't see it.
yeah,
Ugh.
no. I mean, I don't have a problem with hearing other people's opinions for the most part, but but because there are some people who I just don't want to hear talk. But
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, I think I'm more inclined to be curious, especially if it's somebody who feels differently than me, because I want to know, well, why exactly? Like you were saying. But so like going into this movie and already having like the history that I had with it after multiple viewings and then to just have the Rotten Tomato score because also like what does that serve? Why is that even on Peacock in the first place? Because it's going to do for the most part is probably deter people from watching things that they would have otherwise clicked on and just given a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a shame. I wish
Yeah, it's
I,
going to have like, I'm sure they're thinking about the positive, right? Just the way there are ads that say, "Oh,
yeah.
this movie 95%,"
And even positive things
that
like I
people might click on it
yeah.
because of that, but
No, and even positive things like then you walk in with an expectation thinking, I remember a lot of people talking about like Hereditary and about like how that one thing in that first trailer that dropped that compared it to The Exorcist. And I remember seeing right before I went to go see it a quasi review. It wasn't a spoiler review or anything, but it was just like a kind of like a small breakdown from I think it was Clark Wolf on a panel for like AMC or for Collider or something. And she was talking about Hereditary. Nobody else on the panel had seen it. And they were like, so what can we expect? And she's like, I don't want to tell you what you can expect because a big part of this movie is just letting it unfold before you. What I will say is, um, I think it was a mistake for them to compare it to Exorcist in the trailer. Because I think if you walk in expecting The Exorcist, you're going to be disappointed. That said, I was not disappointed watching this movie. It's it is scary. It did upset me. It's not fun. So if you're looking for like a thrill ride or something
oh yeah,
that's just
yeah,
even
it's
like
not.
the even fun the way The Exorcist can, there it's like it can be like it has a spook house aspect to it. Like, but Hereditary is not like that. It's like a long sustained thing, and the more I say
Well,
about it, the more I'm going to spoil it. So I just want people to go in knowing, don't expect to have fun, but you're going to watch a really expertly crafted piece of horror cinema. And I was like, that's all I need to know. I went in, I had the best time,
I feel
having the
like
worst time.
you've been around for like the last 25, 30, actually more than that.
Yeah.
That is one of the shittiest shorthands. You see that with a lot of movies. The scariest
Yeah.
movie since The Exorcist.
No. No. I don't even
And
listen
then you
anymore.
hear
Yeah.
Joe Blows go, "Oh, it sounds fucking, it sounds the scariest movie since The Exorcist." I'm like, eh.
No.
I would say I really liked Longlegs. Didn't love it, but I
Oh,
more like I really liked it.
yeah.
But I do think, and I hate when people use the word like, oh, the hype around it, like the shorthand for hype. I mean, well, what does that mean? Do you mean
Yeah.
social media? Do you mean people? Do you mean people hyping it? Do
Yeah,
you mean
right.
just the marketing? What do you
Right.
mean by hype? Um, but the fact that the marketing campaign for that movie was so critic kind of heavy, and I forget what they were comparing it to, but I'm like, if because I just went like opening night, and I purposefully, when I see ads for anything, I'm mildly like I honestly, specifically right now in the last year, I watched maybe the first 10 seconds of the trailer, then I just go away. I'm good. I want to see. I know who's writing it. I know who's in it. I know the
Yeah.
premise. I'm gonna go.
Hmm.
Like like I haven't even seen. There's now two trailers at the time of this recording. The second trailer just dropped today for Sinners, the new
Hmm.
the new fucking the director of Creed and Black Panther.
Oh,
It's a Michael B. Jordan vampire movie.
Ryan
Ryan Coogler.
Coogler. Yeah.
I'm not watching a trailer. I'm just gonna go see the Ryan Coogler vampire movie. Fucking like I don't need to see a trailer.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
Companion. I just want to go see Companion probably opening weekend. I don't need to see
No.
the
No.
thing comparing it to. So like same thing with like
No.
Longlegs. I just
Yeah.
went,
Hmm.
and then after I saw it, I'm like, man, the marketing for this movie really is shoving down your throat the buzz and the festival, and like just
Yeah.
it sets these weird expectations
Yeah.
because everyone hears, oh, it's the best movie of its kind since Silence of the Lambs. What, because they both have FBI agents in it? Like fucking so fucking stupid.
And then that becomes part of the
And then
rhetoric that
everyone
like
goes, oh, I
everybody's
heard it was as good as Silence of the Lambs. This is fucking
yeah.
boring. It was boring. I didn't get it.
Or even if
It's a
people
little
just
ball in
pick
the
it
head. I
up.
don't understand. You know.
Or even people just picking up and just going like, it reminded me of Silence of the Lambs. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean,
Sure.
kind of,
She's
kind of.
she's tracking a killer and she has an FBI
Yeah,
jacket.
yeah, yeah.
Great.
But
You know?
anyway, yoga hosers. So
But yoga hosers.
um, ultimately, like, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I think that's what Kevin Smith carries with him, like in his heart. I do think that it's a defense mechanism
Yes. And I hope he can
in
heal that.
public. Yeah, I know, but at the same time, like again, like I think he's been doing that ever since before he was a filmmaker.
Yeah,
Just as
absolutely.
like,
He's
yeah,
talked about it. So like
yeah,
that's when I say I understand why. He's put the information out there. I understand why.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
Bunch of little things though that I want to give this movie some props for.
Okay.
Um it's weird because like the CGI of I talked about this in Tusk a little bit. The CGI of the fuck, what's inside the Bratzies? It's
Oh, sauerkraut.
sauerkraut. You know, you could tell that it's an effect that's added just like as a layer when they rip, but you
Yeah,
never see it like land on the ground or hit a wall. It just sort of bursts out.
yeah,
Like there is dodgy CGI, but I excuse it because of the nature of the movie. It's very
100%.
cartoony.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's also, here's the thing. There's also like I don't want to call it good CGI, but there's so much compositing of elements that can be
Sure.
really lazy.
Yeah.
Um, and whenever the Bratzi is in the foreground and it's out of focus,
Hmm.
those are two plates. They're not holding a little puppet in front of the camera. They do a really good job. There are times later in the movie when the Bratzi is in pure focus,
Yeah.
where it looks like it's totally not in the scene. But
Yeah.
but when it's in the foreground and it's going
Yeah.
up to the Colleen's,
Yeah.
when it's behind a shelf looking at Dichabod, I'm
Hmm.
like, this is actually very good compositing.
Yeah.
It's really clean.
Yeah.
The focus in the foreground, the out of focus, like it reads the way it would read.
Hmm.
I'm like, this is really good work. There's other stuff in the movie. It's a little dodgy, but like whoever was in charge of this, there isn't
Yeah.
some shitty little line like the blending of where it starts becoming out of focus doesn't have like that harsh green screen. Like it's
Yeah.
really clean, good work. And I
agree.
every time I watch this, I'm always taken aback by just the, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and it really it adds to the gremlinness of it. It's,
Yeah. I was just gonna say. I just hear that boom,
Yeah.
boom, and just see that. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And there's we didn't really talk about this much with it. It's almost it's like a drawback, but then it's not a drawback. But
Okay.
the goalie golem
Yeah,
You're I don't want to say disappointment, but you were hoping, for like there's a thing with these other characters we set up or
sure.
feel like you're getting set up, and then nothing happens with them at the end.
Mhm.
I talked a little bit about how I feel like the third act does feel like, from a production standpoint, like here's how much money we're spending to be in this location on this day, and we can't really kind of
Mhm.
go anywhere else.
Sure.
The thing that to me feels slightly limiting isn't necessarily the location, which is a factor, but the fact that it ultimately is just like a big hulking thing,
Hmm.
kind of like how the rubber poop monster in Dogma like can't really move. Then there's a
Hmm.
shot of it with CGI throwing poop, but then when we cut back to it, it's just like a thing that can kind of do this.
Yeah.
Um, I almost partially kind of felt slightly like not let down, but the fact that that's like two girls just kind of fighting a thing that could just kind of walk and move its arms.
Hmm.
But I also, in a weird way, like that because it feels like an old school monster that also can only do an X and Y but not Z. And there's been
Hmm.
like a long history of like things like the first thing it made me think of. I don't know, and I say this endearingly,
Hmm.
but I don't know if you've ever seen the Paul W.S. Anderson masterpiece that is Mortal Kombat from 1995.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
Goro is supposed in the video game is like one of the ultimate things, and in the movie, Goro is like this fighter that like everyone goes up against and just gets killed. And there's that montage of just fight after fight after fighter falling over and falling over. But when you finally see it, it's like a guy in a suit with just like an added torso and these the bonus set of arms and like a puppeteer Jim Henson head. And
Right.
all a head can kind of do is rah, rah. And the extra arms can just kind of only so when there's this big fight scene where we actually get the fight scene and it's just going like, ugh, ugh. And I'm like, this thing that's killed all these guys, we don't have CGI yet. We didn't have we didn't have good CGI yet.
Yeah.
All it can do is like this. And it's so disappointing in Mortal Kombat. And I don't know, there was just like a part of me that like it reminded me of Goro a bit, where I'm
Okay.
like,
I can see that.
yeah. But also, if it was super agile, would two
Mm.
15-year-old girls be able to beat the shit out of it? Like, it needs to be able to be like, ugh, so they can just hit him in the nuts with like
Yeah.
three-legged dog, you know?
Yeah. I also like, I mean, I don't know. I like that the Bratzies can cooperate, but not like super successfully. I mean, with
Mm-hmm.
each other. So it's like, yeah, we can move this thing and go "Fundaba, fundaba," and everything like that. But we're slow, you know.
Well, the thing is, I mean, as far as the the golem as a literary concept is a
Mhm.
large and hulking thing.
Sure.
So, I mean, in that sense, but I just there's something about there's something endearingly cheesy and enjoyably cheesy about the limitations of what ultimately the goalie golem can do. So
Mm.
it's like it's in a weird way, it sounds like a negative, but to me, it's kind of a feature, not a bug, sort of thing.
Okay.
It lends it a midnight movie creature feature kind of aspect to it.
I mean, I get that. I think I
He's
just I kind of want it to be. I would have been fine if it had been anything but flesh colored. Like,
yeah, I know that really bothered. I love the ribs though, like the human bones making the
yeah, I wasn't
that was
about
that's
it. I
all.
didn't like that coming off of its shoulders and everything. I was just kind of like, oh, this is so unseemly. Oh, it's gross.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Also there's a little thing I like about this. I like that instead of Us magazine, they have them,
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
I love the recurring
Save
thing
my
about
bacon.
yeah, Harry Styles is so hot, so hot. Um, this is the first time I ever paused it and watched the pages flip. The very first page is a photo of Kevin Smith and George Carlin on the set of Jersey Girl, and I was like,
That's
"Aw."
sweet. I
But
love that.
another thing I liked in it, and I don't know if this retroactively counts as pulling in Zach and Miri or not, but there is an article, it has a photo of Jay Muse, and then the other page is the main photo page, and it says lifesaver, and he's holding the dildo lightsaber, and he's dressed
Oh,
from Star Wars.
right.
And I don't know if that's meant to be like an article about Jay Muse, or is it an article about was it Chester the Molester?
Yeah,
Was his name
maybe they.
Chester?
I don't
Cock and stuff?
remember.
Yeah.
You'll remember more than I will. But
No, Lester the molester talking
Lester the
shop.
molester. Right.
But the
Which
fact that
actually Chester would work better because molester, rhyming Lester with molester, like that's just
yeah,
Lester
it's
Lester. Anyway,
yeah, whatever. But the fact that he's holding the lightsaber and it says
yeah,
lifesaver, I like to imagine that that's a Zack and Miri article, and
I
that
do
for
too.
some, but then also for some reason, a magazine that's got Harry Styles in it and Amanda Seyfried on the cover would have a porn star like Lester is covered
Because
in them magazine.
they're successful.
But I was going to say that trilogy was a hit, so maybe he crossed
Hmm.
over.
Maybe like Tracy Lords.
But he's exactly like Tracy Lords.
Headcanon.
Fuck yeah. Anyway, so Lester's in there, and
Nice.
I thought that was neat.
That's fun.
Yeah. Also, I don't know who thinks of this because I did eventually track down because the idea is that they sell what do they call that the Mountie McBeaver,
Yeah.
and that's
No, the not the beavers. Yeah.
and someone stole the beavers, and we realize it's the Bratzies in their natural state are naked, but they stole what the beavers are wearing. That's
Yeah.
why they're Mounties with just like the old
Yes.
Nazi hat.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. I think I was just lazy, but I eventually tracked down because the beaver that you see in the movie is an actual beaver that you can buy.
Hmm.
And one of these days, I'm like, I should buy that fucking beaver just so I'm like, oh, I have the beaver. But it is a real ass beaver, and it's a shame that this movie didn't get merchandised the way
Yeah.
other Askewniverse movies did. Because if they
Mhm.
sold like little Bratzies, I'd get one.
Oh my God.
Like I had to make this shirt.
Uh-huh.
The only thing they ever made was the red, white, and but never blue,
But never blue, yeah.
which I think technically they made when Tusk came out.
Right.
Um,
Oh, I see.
but yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's it's I don't know, it's just a movie full of silliness. It's and I just it makes me happy.
yeah. Sweet.
Their friendship makes me happy. It makes me laugh. There's a charm to it, and at first like that same way that like Clerks 2 is like, well, I don't know, movies and everything's all punny. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about this with the Tusk one, but Jen Schwalbach, who we now in this movie we connect that it's the same character. She works at what's called the Gimli Slider, which
Mm-hmm.
itself is just such a weird Canadian history callback. Which I know they read about in an episode of Smodcast. So that's why, if you're a Smodcast person, that's why it's there. But let's say you don't listen to Smodcast. You're like, why would you make a whole restaurant about the Gimli glider other than the pun slider glider? You know,
Right,
but everything's
right.
all aviation themed. It's got these little pilots in the
Yeah.
background, and it's just it. Like I respect that it goes out of its way to do the dumbest shit.
Yeah. And to pay out and to
Artisanal syrups, anal
yes,
syrups,
anal syrups, but also to reward like a keen eye. Like I remember first time I got the blue, and I remember I was sitting there and I was pausing it. Because I paused it every time we got like the little video game kind of like, here's the stuff and
Yeah.
everything. And I loved reading like all their little quotes about like the responses that the other users by seeing like what their screen names were and what they were saying
Yes.
about like whoever we were watching. Like, because wasn't all the ones for Schwalbach, weren't they all Kevin Smith just going like, yeah, MILF and like I'd hit that and
Yeah.
it's all
One said it was K Smitty, and it
yeah.
said I'd hit it or I'd hit that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like, oh, and it again, like little rewards for like attention paid to the details because there are details in this. And that's why there's another thing about this movie. I like liking this movie. I like the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I'm not so jaded that I can sit through it and not be moved to laugh or even moved to just like, again, like just soften a little bit and just kind of go, aw, it's all there.
It is,
If you're looking for it, and if you're looking for something else, then look for something else.
and I like that it's not trying hard to be cool, and I also like that our
Yeah.
leads are not trying to be cool. There
No.
are movies where our characters are cool. They're Ferris Bueller types. There are
Mhm.
some where they are meant to be dumb, like Dumb and Dumber types, and then there's the ones that like this sort of falls in between. Like they just need each other. They make each other happy. They think each other is cool. Maybe other
Mhm.
people don't.
Mhm.
And you're nerdy, but like I love almost that vulnerability of just being precise. Like this encompasses everything, and it's one of my favorite moments in the movie, and I can't believe I didn't bring
Mhm.
this up yet. When Hunter first walks into the A to Z, and we have a slow-mo shot of Colleen seeing him, and she's so
That's good.
agog.
Yes.
She doesn't play it cool at all. It isn't that moment
It's
where like
so
the actor is
cute.
just like, she's like,
And
it's
again,
pure. It tells you about her character,
yes.
but it's also funny. It's just
Yes,
her
it's
fucking
heightened and
and it
cartoony, but completely accessible. We all know what it's like to feel that way.
yeah, and it got a laugh in the theater. Everyone fucking laughed at
Yes,
that reaction.
yes.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so much fun.
I like that it's intended to be kind of for kids, but it still has like, fucking like it's a suit made of flesh, and it punched the dude into the ground, and blood came out. It's
Yeah.
got Satanists. At one point, and because fucking Tabs is questioning, whether Ichabod, like that guy who comes
Oh
and
yeah,
plays to you guys, he might be up to this or that. And he's like, he might be up to something else too.
yeah.
And you're like, all right, like one, I question what you're saying with that, but two, like it's not the hardest PG-13, but
Mhm.
for a movie kind of skewing kiddie a bit, it's a pretty hard PG-13,
Yeah.
which I think kids need,
Well, I also love
and it
the
makes me
fact that
laugh.
yeah. I also love the fact that there's no shame in that. They're not allowing, Tabs to shame them with that thing. They're just kind of like, oh God, what? Yeah, of course your mind would go there. Like, like
Yeah,
it's just immediately just kind of like, that's not even what's going on. You're just gross. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah. Good for you. That's what I want to see my girl
yeah,
do. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, all of that. All of
So
it.
thumbs up. If I could give it a
At the end
binary.
of all of that, deemed fresh
Yeah,
for my tomato meter. I
on my
can't
tomato
even.
meter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would like rate it or anything like that because I like not even thinking. I like just kind of like accepting it right now. That's what I'm really kind of enjoying. I mean, I just saw The Substance a few days ago, and I
Hey.
started to, and I started reviewing it on Letterboxd, and then I just put it away. I was just like, oh, you know what? I can do that when I have a little bit more time with it, and if if something occurs to me, like because I know I'm going to see it again. But I just love accepting what comes with when people make a movie right now because I also don't spend a lot of time watching a lot of things that I feel like a waste of time. There's no time to waste, so it's like I better watch
Mhm.
something that's going to be that I'm going to get something out of, and if I can see again like with this one, like if I can see like the whole impetus to like make the movie to present it to me if I can just find the aw, and I do with this. Like I said at the top, it's not motivated by some studio mogul going like, okay, so movies about teen girls who are friends who are kind of in horror movies but that are also like self-referential and that are also like connected to Canada. We need to make that movie.
Right. At no point was there a team of people going, okay, so according to our statistics and analytics,
Yeah,
what's really so
exactly.
Canada really popular right now.
Right.
Teenage girls in hockey and bratwursts and
Handsome. He's so hot right now. There's none of that.
this
Yeah.
podcaster who does voices, like
No, there's no guy, and there's no guy with like a big cigar going, I want to make a movie about that. No, it's just like a labor of love, and I get that. That's the thing. I've seen things that were labors of love before that I go, yeah, I don't feel it.
mhm,
Good for you that you got to make the thing that you wanted to make, and when I watch the making of, I can see that. Like sometimes
mhm.
you get the final product, and you're just kind of like, oh, and then you watch the making of, you're like, oh well, people worked on it. I get that the whole time I'm watching the movie. I can feel the effort and also the
Yeah,
effortlessness, the effortless just kind of frivolity and fun,
and
So
yeah, it's a fun and a charm that comes out, and like I honestly, there's a handful of movies that I've been thinking about lately because I fucking need them, are my comfort movies where the outside world is just too fucking unbearable to handle right now. But sometimes I can just sit down for a couple hours and kind
yeah,
of not have to feel it so much.
sure.
And honestly, this is one of them.
I get that.
It's definitely one of them. For what
Yeah.
it's worth, Freddy versus Jason, Basketball, Bottoms. These are all movies I go to that just make me feel good.
Just
Club Dread.
every every color of the rainbow. I
Oh
love
yeah,
it.
yeah. No, Freddy versus Jason has people straight up murdered in it, and Basketball
Yeah.
has like a ska band playing while you're throwing basketballs into a hoop. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
But yeah, and But yeah, two of the newest movies that are comfort movies to me are Bottoms and Yoga Hosers. Really just kind of put me at ease for a little bit. Yeah.
God, Bottoms is so good. Yeah. All right.
All right.
I think
Fuck it.
I think I'm good.
Yeah. All right. We're all out. We're all
out. We're all out. Nothing left to talk about.
Exactly. So until next time.
Yeah.
Until next time, which I think is Reboot.
Ooh.
Which I think
I
is
think
Reboot.
so too. I think it's Reboot. Yeah.
I say think because Kilroy was here, is in there, but like it filmed in 2017, but then it came out in like 2021 or something.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
So Reboot. Anyway, bye everybody.
Bye.